Good evening, everyone. For anyone saying the sponsors of BlackBox pay us too much money, I've never had to sit with Mark Sutherland for 35 minutes while he sorts his camera out. That's all I'm saying. You right, Mark?
Oh my God. Like people say, what's your superpower? I think my superpower is I can take any trivial thing and make it really stressful.
4 years you've been doing this every week.
Honestly. Oh my word.
You right?
That was... Yeah, I'm okay. I had to go and have a wee. Sorry. As well, right at the end. Just as we were going to go live, I'm like, I'm going to have to go now.
I was just like, are you joking? But the good thing is, a 6-minute credits mean everyone got to see like the full, intro, words on the screen. There's, some people won't have seen them all. So
amazing.
We can thank you for that.
I hope our sound is okay because we haven't had time to sound check, but I think it's all good.
Hope we sound good.
Loud and clear, says Derek Knowles. Hello, Derek. Thank you for joining us. Nigel the Crabbers, he sorts his camera out. It's quite the youth. No, honestly, it was Nigel.
Did you win a bin, Mark, or in the toilet this time?
Yeah, I don't know. I went in. I used porcelain for sure. Yeah. No one will know what you're talking about.
No, there is definitely context needed, but I'm not even going to say it. So
no, there's 783 watching. I think the more technical issues we have, the greater the audience.
Yeah, it's always been the way. Yeah, sorry, we're 35 minutes late and 2 hours later than the normal time of 7 p.m. But we're here. It's fine. You got beer as well?
We are. I've got a beer. We've got lots to talk about. Guns Out is the title of the show. Because obviously everyone's selling Saka, Odegaard injury, Declan Rice is out. There's definitely a tidal wave of people moving off their Arsenal assets, and I think I'm sharing the airways with one here, aren't I? Yes, are you doing?
You are indeed, and I'm seeing the moves I'm planning. Loads of people are making those moves now. Some people making them for hits. I don't feel good about them at all. So I'm surprised so many people are thinking about Saka and Isak out. I'm really nervous about it, and I've already made one of the two moves, so no going back now.
You know how it goes, right? You know in FPL, one of the unwritten rules is when a large section of the community go with a particular opinion, and that opinion could be a sliding doors, crossroads, whatever it is, you know what happens next, right? It normally blows up in our face, doesn't it?
Can't remember any mass decision like this that's gone well.
I know, exactly. Very rarely does it go according to plan, which is disconcerting for me because I'm going to end up captaining Salah. So if people who are selling Saka getting Salah and that doesn't work out, then it's still going to hurt me because I'm probably going to end up captaining. So
that's good to know.
So there'll be some pain this side as if it does go wrong. Flanny Boy 1888, thank you so much for the super chat already. We will get to super chats at the end. We'll probably be here till 10 to midnight or even later than that, but that's all good. We do it. That's the kind of thing we do. Right. Let's get on with some stuff, shall we? But before we do, we better have a word from our sponsors, and my word, we earn those sponsors.
Oh yes. Well, everyone by now will be familiar with Sleeper. I think obviously a lot of content creators talking about it. A lot of people getting involved in the Pick'em League, and we had our first winner from that. And a PlayStation 5 will be going to our monthly winner of the Pick'em League. Me and you, Mark, or you and I should say, took part in our first ever BlackBox draft.
It was fun, wasn't it?
I think that went
really good. Yeah, I loved it. It was like, it kind of revived memories of the old days. I obviously we were running the team together. There was a little bit of to and fro between us. You were naysaying my picks, but I think in the end we basically got a team of 15, 7 of which are all injured or suspended. But
yeah, I mean our team is Palmer, Solanke, Diaz, Kuna, Raya, Romero, Akanji, Nketiah, Bailey. Then it starts getting a little bit suspect with Rice, Calafiori, Souček, Anderson, Kadioglu, Cliver, Onana, and Alex Moreno. But everyone's in the same boat. The first sort of 8 or 9 picks were fine, and then it was a bit, it got a bit ropey after that. But I think we're in a pretty good position against the others.
I think so. Once we get Kadioglu playing and Calafiori, why have we got these players I can't pronounce? You idiot! Once we get them back from injury, you can't
pronounce any players. It would have really limited us if we were. That was our policy.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I'm going to love doing that, and I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward. And the Sleeper app was good. The interface was good. It didn't crash. No issues. Very smooth experience. So. Get involved if you fancy having a draft game.
That is the message. Yeah, get involved. Try out the draft. use the QR code on the screen. Give that a scan. Just give it a go. Let us know what you think of it. I thought it was a great. Great interface, and the draft was fun. And yeah, and if, anyone asking where they can watch it, I'm hoping there's going to be more clips like the ones they posted coming soon. So
yeah, if not, we'll publish the whole thing and our arguments. and the bit when Gianni kept signing injured players, and we were like, "What's he doing?"
Yeah. Would you say he's going to need a good physio or something like that?
Yeah, no, I said he's going to need Jesus Christ as a physio to revive them from the dead. Bailey is injured. I know, David. Yes, Bailey is injured. We have picked some injured players as well, but we haven't got Reece James, have we?
We've also how have we got Onana and Alex Moreno?
Well, it's all right. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right, FPL. Let's get on to that, shall we? Let's look at our game weeks first of all, shall we? You did all right,
Yeah, 73. Got some points from Henderson finally. 4 points for him. Trent, Porro, and Robinson. Another assist from Robinson. He's done all right in the first few weeks. Pretty happy with that for 4-5. Saka, Jota, Gordon, and Rodgers. That was all a bit of a disaster. 1 assist from Saka. Nothing from the other 3 attackers, despite all scoring goals. Nothing from Jota's really disappointing when obviously Diaz got the brace and Salah got 17-pointer. So yeah, that was annoying. Haaland and Isak. Haaland with a hat-trick, captain, basically carrying the team as usual. Isak with the goal. He's been unceremoniously shipped out after his after his first goal of the season. And Mateta, who's blanked twice since I brought him in, now has massive threat. From other signings they've made, and I'm a bit worried about him. And nothing much on the bench. It was an okay week, but yeah, like one player scoring over 10, and that was Haaland, captain. The rest is pretty average.
What do you make of Jota? Because obviously we had high expectations when we learned he'd start the season down the middle. But Diaz has been the one of the 2 7-5s to come out and hit with big points so far. Jota did the right week 1, but I don't know. He does seem to be dropping deeper and letting Salah and Diaz be the ones that tuck in. Is that your impression?
Yeah, I mean, next year I have 0.08 in that Manchester United game, which obviously isn't ideal, but 0.99 and 0.65 in the games before, and had a goal and assist in those. So going into the game against Manchester United, I was pretty confident he was going to get something. And when the score goes to 3-0, you think he's going to be involved in some capacity. But I think it's just going to be one of those. I think Salah's just obviously going to consistently score points, and then the other, I'd put Szoboszlai into that bracket as well. Probably not as high as Diaz and Jota, but I think they're all just going to have weeks where they score well, score weeks where they don't, and you can keep trying to chase it and getting Diaz, but I think you just pick one and kind of stick with them. And until Jota loses places, I'll be sticking with him.
People requesting to see our ranks. I'll link. There we go. They're under our names there, and while they're fairly decent, we'll keep them on screen.
Ahead of me with no Haaland.
Yeah, well, more on that in a minute. Let's get to my team and go through that. No Haaland, of course. It was Raya 2 points, Lewis 6, Trent 6, Konsa 2, Smith Rowe 2, Son just the 3, Saka captain, which was a big disappointment. More on that in a minute. Salah 17, Rodgers 2, Isak 9, and Wissa, who was my transfer, coming in with a goal and bonus. 69, not great. Obviously didn't have Haaland, captained the wrong player. And I will point out the fact that I've captained Salah only once and got a double figure return in match of the day game week 2. I've captained Isak game week 1 and Saka game week 3. What have they got in common? They're both playing teams that had a man sent off. So on both occasions when I've picked a captain other than Salah, the teams I've captained a player in have been reduced to 10 men with
rightfully sent
45 minutes to go. Rightfully sent off. Come on. Dear me. Yeah, it was it's frustrating because Saka still should have got more points because he had a chance right at the end and he was heavily involved, wasn't he?
I mean, he had Hinchwood on toast, didn't he, in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes. It was very concerning. And then we started to play a bit better for, I don't know, it was a even-ish game, but Arsenal will feel like they should have won that, especially towards the end. Like you say, I thought that was in. I thought Saka was just going to bury that and it was going to break some hearts. Great result for Brighton. Arsenal should have won it, but Brighton could have counted themselves again.
Yeah, and I was disappointed with Son because I really did think Spurs would get something at Newcastle. And they played well, did okay, but Newcastle kind of ground out the result, didn't they? And Spurs, again, like in game week 1 at Leicester, away from home, just couldn't convert their play into chances and goals. And yeah, Son hanging on this week. I don't know whether he'll go. It doesn't look like it. Looks like I'm going to make another change, but more on that at the end. But Wissa was great. I mean, hoped for a return, got one. Now he's going to be on my bench for a few game weeks until Brentford's run starts in game week 6 onwards, and that's where hopefully he'll come into his own. But I've noticed a lot of content creators talking about him now, so good to get to him early.
With the original Wissa.
There they go. And of course, we know how it works because I got him first. No one else is allowed to have him. That's exactly the way it works, right?
Well, no one should want him. It's like Bailey last season. So once you get some points from him, he's dead to me. I'm never getting Wissa now ever.
Good, brilliant. That's fine. Let's look at great and the good and see where we stand in that. Let's go. This is why we have to shrink the cams. Harry's gone top of that. Harry, how does he do it? Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because I think he's got Salah and Haaland, right? Like Praz has. So obviously Salah and Haaland teams have done very well at the start of the season, and perhaps the shortcomings of going Salah and Haaland don't reveal themselves over a short spell. It's going to take longer. So that's my reasoning as to why I haven't got Salah and Haaland. Yeah, but obviously, Salah, Praz and Harry have started the season really well. 1,996 or 196,000 for Harry. Praz, 216,000 rather. General just behind them, and then Fran, 584 just above me. Luke's in between. We've got a disabled sandwich between us as Luke is between us. Disabled, just to make that clear, is his online name.
Good clarification there.
Yes. And then Andy coming up behind you, so to speak. It's all very close. All very close.
I would say Harry hasn't got Salah. He's Haaland.
Oh, is he not?
No, he is Haaland only. He has got the mighty Chris Wood though, which
that explains it.
We'll be happy with his 9 points, and Eze kept the faith with Eze as well, which again just shows patience with players. Players that are good underlying numbers. Eventually they'll come good. So yeah, it's nice. We're not in the bottom. We're not in the trenches at the moment. Both in the top million. I'll take that.
Yeah, qualifying for Europe at the moment in the great and the good, which is fine. We'll keep going on that. Let's look at start looking at some data then. Team defence. So this is obviously a caveat, free game weeks, small sample, etc. But we're looking for trends. We're looking for trends that could continue. One thing that's unlikely to continue, I'd imagine, is Nottingham Forest being the second best defence in the Premier League. No. But there they are at the top. But of course, as you see from fixture difficulties, they've had the best start to the season with their first 3 fixtures. City at the top though, and 7 chances per 90 conceded, the best of any team here. And what's interesting is, one, we expect City to stay in the top 2. The second point that's interesting is Arsenal, who have kept 3 clean sheets, 2 clean sheets, and were keeping one until Brighton scored and they reduced to 10 men. Down in 7th, we would have thought Arsenal would be in the top 2 or 3 defences, but they're not. And they're actually conceding 14 chances per 90, which is quite a lot, considering their reputation going into the season as the strongest defence.
Well, it's not like a broken record, but they were lucky to not concede to Sarabia in game week 1, and they were I don't know what you'd call it, how they didn't concede to Ollie Watkins in game week 2. And like I said, they were in good control of that game, limiting Brighton to a few chances. The red card kind of changed things. We had a really, really good spell when just after that red card, which is quite natural. And then they started coming towards the end. But luckily, we managed to actually score in that spell where we were dominating a bit more. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the ramifications of Odegaard being out, Havertz having to drop back into midfield. Obviously, they've got lots of defensive options. Timber came in. But Calafiore, has he got a knock or is he pushing for
He got
a
a knock in international break, Yeah,
I thought so. But I mean, that doesn't really change the makeup of it. I mean, are they going to adopt a more defensive approach now they've lost? Because they've lost Odegaard and they've lost their kind of main striker, because Havertz is going to have to drop back to midfield. Jesus is out.
You see Havertz dropping back. Jesus could return. So we'll need to get Arteta's team news. But the last we heard about Jesus is following the international break, he might have a chance. So he could be back in the frame. You see it then as Trossard up front, Havertz dropping back, do you, to take Odegaard's place in midfield?
Probably. Because, I mean, who do they bring into midfield if they keep Havertz up top? Do they bring in...
They'd have to play 2 stoppers, wouldn't they?
Is Partey still there?
Yeah. Yeah, he started the season. Yeah. So
well, if they bring him in, then that's good news for the defensive numbers, but not so good news for Saka, presumably. Marino's still out, isn't he? So they can't bring him in. I don't know. I think it's one of the reasons. I mean, it's been an up and down international game with the transfers I've been looking to make. You know, debating whether to take Saka out or not. Now I've landed on Saka out, and I think this news pushes me into that because I don't think it's going to affect their defense very much. But really, if you've got Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, you're probably not expecting a clean sheet in the next 2 games against Spurs and City anyway. Oh yeah, but it has to affect Saka, surely.
Yeah, I mean, in my predictions, I've said that Spurs will score. I agree with you. I think that I don't think Odegaard. I mean, we're going to look at. I've got some charts and tables on Odegaard in later on in the show that we'll get to. I mean, look at midfielders, but I don't think it changes Arsenal's approach to the game. In that they are, I think, by their very nature, defensively sound in every game they go into. I don't think they go into any game, going all out attack. They are first and foremost resolute, and then they've got quality up top to score goals, but they're not going to win games 5-6-0. They've become almost what City have become, which is a side that can get results, but never really takes the handbrake off and manages games out. That's what they've become. It's a results machine, and it's no surprise that Arteta's followed the same path that Pep's done with City in that respect. You know, of the teams at the top that are full on attack, you'd have to say it was Liverpool under Klopp. Whether it is Liverpool under Slot so far, you'd say yes, they're the team who will go full throttle and score goals, but that could be changing as well. Liverpool are third in this table defensively, and I don't think it's a long stretch, even after 3 games, to say that we're seeing Liverpool change, and they're actually now a team that are more pragmatic and defensive. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not many managers, is there, that have come in and kept 3 clean sheets in the first 3 games. I've been really impressed. I've rewatched the highlights of the Liverpool Manchester United game, and you know, they're just leagues apart in terms of organisation and everything. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to know what Slot does with Trent. Because there are some rumours going around, aren't there, that he's not totally happy with him. There's always been question marks around his defensive ability. Well, if Slot wants to turn Liverpool into a more pragmatic and defensive unit, what does that mean for Trent? Because you could argue that he's a bit of a liability defensively, but obviously makes up for it with attacking play. But
yeah, I don't think Liverpool are getting turned into a defensive side. I'll take that back, but it's more about control. And which is what City and Arsenal are about. It's about controlling the game, managing the game, and the result being primarily the goal, rather than we're going to go all out and play like the heavy metal football that Klopp used to play. I think we're seeing the dial move back some notches from that. They're still scoring goals, but what we are seeing is suddenly, rather than it just being Arsenal are the only team we can invest in defence, suddenly City are reviving, it seems. Maybe it's too early to say, but maybe City are going to be that strong defensive unit again that we can go to. You know, who knows who we end up picking, Vardy or Lewis, probably. But Liverpool are now in that bracket as well, so far, it would say.
Yeah, and there are ways that we can tap into it with potentially Alisson. Robertson's really popular over the break as well. I've noticed there's a lot of AI recommendations for Robertson. Going in. I mean, the difficulty with that is obviously you have to then sacrifice potentially going for, I mean, assuming Trent and Salah are in your side, you're basically having to choose between a Diaz, a Jota, or a Robertson. And I still favour the attack, I think, with the fixtures the way they are. But Robertson has presented himself as an interesting option going forward. But yeah, I wonder, it's going to be, and I mean, obviously the other really interesting thing is what's coming with Konsa and Konate. Like, is Konate just starting every week now? Because then he's an option as well, isn't he? At 5 million.
I don't want to get into that because people will buy Konsa in their droves and blame me for that. But yeah, I think when Europe starts, we know game week 4 onwards, that's going to answer some questions, isn't it, on that front? Just wanted to mention Chelsea and Villa defences here. They are 4th and 5th in the table. The table obviously is sorted by XG conceded non-penalty per 90. And we've got City top 0.68, Forest second 0.70, then Liverpool 0.79. Bit of a gap to Villa on 1.00, and then Chelsea 1.09. I mentioned Villa and Chelsea because in terms of fixture difficulty, they've had a tougher start than the top 3. So therefore, perhaps, and again, early days, perhaps Villa and Chelsea could turn into sides that we can look at. I think probably in that second tier below City, Liverpool and Arsenal, but perhaps Villa and Chelsea could be the teams we go to for some value in defence.
Yeah, the difficulty with Villa, obviously, the Champions League is going to start, and how they're going to deal with that, with all the games that they've got to play. I mean, Konsa's obviously really popular. You've got him, not Quansah, the other one, the K, Konsa. But people saw the kind of hard part of that, and the reason why he got less than 100 points last season, despite playing most of the games, is just Villa concede stupid goals and concede goals, and even though the underlying stats are good, I still don't really trust them in that area, and you lose that attacking threat that you get with someone like Robinson, for example, at 4-5. But the fixtures are nice, so you are going to want to play him. I'd still favour Konsa to like Colwill though at 4-5. I trust Chelsea even less. The teams just seem to be able to get at them, and I'm really surprised to see them at 5th on this list, because they seem to get carved open quite easily, but the underlying stats aren't really supporting that.
No, I mean 10.67 chances conceded per 90, the same as Villa. So far we haven't seen that middle in defence emerge. We're still waiting to see who it is, and when we're going to get to defenders, we know there's value with Robinson at Fulham and Porro at Spurs, or maybe Romero at Spurs. What's interesting here, Wolves are 1.32 with some really tough fixtures. They might be worth a look, and there's a name I want to pick out when we get to defenders who could be a target when the fixtures improve. Brighton, middle in defence at the moment, in 10th. Do you expect them to climb that table? Because I see you as a more defensive side, since De Zerbi left, right?
Yeah, there's more of a plan, I think, to deal with. There's a plan B when things aren't going well to drop back. And again, I think we've got players who have already bought into the system, and there seems to be like quite a lot of cohesion in the way we attack and the way we defend. The issue is a little bit that Dunk is getting on a bit. Kadioglu is going to come in untested in the Premier League. I mean, he's got a great reputation. People seem to absolutely love him, but hasn't played in the Premier League yet. We've got Hinchelwood playing at left back. Estupiñán should come back, but he's been a bit suspect, defensively. I don't know. There's a bit of like change and a bit of amendments coming to the Brighton backline. So would I expect immediate improvements on this? Probably not, but I think it will settle down and will become good value. I think the Verbruggen and like Flecken rotation, if you're on a wild card, just looks so good.
I was going to ask you
at the end of the season.
Let's get to keepers. Save that chat till keepers. S-Bam mentioning Konsa got not playing for him. He did indeed, and he went off, I think, on about 70 minutes. Didn't look too serious. He wasn't going off, shaking his head or heading his hands or anything like that. So we do have to wait for the presser from memory. So we have to see whether Konsa's going to be ready for the weekend. But yeah, you mentioned the fixtures. Let's just bring up the fixtures for Villa. This is the long ticker showing game weeks 4 to 12, and Villa are 4th in that. But if we look at the short-term fixtures, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away, doesn't really get much better than that, does it?
It doesn't, but at the same time, Everton were really, really impressive against Bournemouth for literally 88 minutes. Jack Harrison was looking good. Calvert-Lewin had a bit about him. They were attacking really well. And to lose that game is one of the biggest throwaways I can remember, because I was watching it on Match of the Day, and honestly, Bournemouth didn't have a highlight until 88th minute. There wasn't a single attack of note for Bournemouth. And then there was like 6 highlights in a row, all Bournemouth attacks. Every cross seemed to cause them problems.
It was absolute capitulation, wasn't it?
Complete carnage.
I watched some Everton fan pods afterwards because I like wallowing in other teams' misery. And they were just saying you could smell it. You could smell it in the ground, and like the fear in the players the minute they got one goal. And it's like, yeah, I've been there with Forest. I've seen it. I mean, I remember the Sheffield United semi-final in the playoffs when they pulled one back, and suddenly you could just sense that all the confidence was going. It was only a matter of time for more goals were conceded, and that's how it was in that game. Just 5 minutes was crazy.
It was such an un-Dyche-like end to the match because, the balls were coming in and there was players unmarked on the edge of the area. Like Everton had a breakaway and they actually tried to attack, and then Bournemouth won the ball back and pushed. And Everton weren't bringing all their men back like hurriedly to defend. It wasn't like they were defending with 10 men behind the ball. There was like massive pockets of space for Bournemouth to attack. Dyche must have been, I was going to say tearing his hair out, but he hasn't got much of that. But he must have been.
It's worrying. It's worrying what's going on at Everton, that's for sure. Let's look at some attacking data and some of the teams.
I was just going to say quickly, there's that game, and then it's Wolves and Ipswich. And although I think those games look amazing from an attacking perspective, and you'd expect them to score lots of goals, I still think from a defensive perspective, Everton, Wolves, and Ipswich isn't as easy as it might look on paper.
Yeah, not when we're talking about Villa.
Yeah, Derby factor and then Ipswich, I think are going to get teams, because I think what's his name up top? Delap. I can never remember Delap's name. Delap up top is going to cause some issues.
Yeah, lively. And in Ipswich, I think of all the promoted sides are the ones that are going to pose the biggest attacking threat. Yeah. We haven't seen it yet, which brings me to the attacking data. We haven't seen it yet. And Ipswich, bottom of this table for team data attack. XG non-penalty per 90, 0.40. The reason why they're down there, though, is because they've had the toughest opening 3 fixtures, I believe. I do believe that we will see more from them. But having said that, 6.33 shots per 90 is woeful. But the fixtures have been against them. So I am interested to see what they do now that the fixtures ease up for them somewhat. But yeah, no surprise to see Ipswich and Leicester down the bottom. Southampton in 14th, 1.16, more favourable. But I think of the 3 promoted sides, Ipswich is the one I'm looking at. They've signed some smart players, I think. And I think they've got, Leif Davis, someone who, I said Leif there, a player that could offer us an option in defence in terms of attacking returns. And I think they've got a sprinkling of talent, including Delap, like you mentioned. So
Delap's goal.
Expect them to see,
on the halfway line, drove and just banged it in. Great goal.
Not what you'd expect from a promoted striker, but obviously he was in the Championship last season on loan, part of the City graduates, so you expect him to be quality, and he's starting to show it. But I think Ipswich will climb this table. I don't think they'll climb to the heights, and at the very top we see Liverpool there, who are absolutely dominant. What the stat that I pick out here, although it's 2.37 non-penalty per 90, it's the big chances, over 5 big chances per game. Crazy that.
I mean, that is massive. And obviously we were expecting that to plateau a little bit, but the next 2 fixtures are good. 2 home games. Obviously Forest with good underlying numbers, but you'd still expect Liverpool to have chances in that game. And then Bournemouth at home when Haaland's away. And I think that's what's kind of taken me into the realms of thinking I want to get Salah in, because that Bournemouth at home game looks great when Haaland's got that tricky match. And then it's who do you captain otherwise? Because if I've just got Haaland and Saka as my 2 premiums, I don't really want to captain either of them in that match. So then I'm either taking a punt on someone else in 5, but there's no one I really trust at the moment, or I go for Salah.
Yeah, what we're talking about is the Liverpool bank of fixtures, which starts now, which is a group of 4 fixtures, which we always wanted to target: Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves away, and then Palace away. And the reason why that's of interest is because in the middle of that, Haaland plays Arsenal. And then goes to Newcastle. Yeah, and Newcastle away, traditionally one of the hardest away games, and he might find it difficult there. I mean, at the moment, he's not finding anything too difficult. But you got to say, if you're comparing Haaland to Salah over this next 4, you would say that Salah's got a good chance of outscoring Haaland, right? Given that he's kept pace of him so far. Yeah,
they've got identical points at the moment.
Yeah, 41 points.
Yeah, so, I mean that is ridiculous. I wasn't expecting that. The main reason why I didn't go with him, I thought the points might be shared a bit more between Liverpool, and it turns out they were just all getting them except for bloody Jota apparently. Trent, I mean, how Trent hasn't got an attacking return yet, I don't know, because that offside was, I mean, Salah didn't need to touch that, did he? No. And then Trent's getting a double digit in that. He could have had an assist in the first game. A lot of what ifs and maybes, but I think he's been genuinely really unlucky not to come away with more points. But yeah, you look at this data and think, with 2 home games to come, and then Wolves, and then Palace. I mean, that isn't exactly a bad game. The way Palace have started, you want to be trebling up, I think, on Liverpool in some capacity.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that Liverpool are becoming maybe more pragmatic under Slot, but it's not detracting from their attacking data. Obviously, it's been the perfect start. 3 wins, no goals conceded. Slot looks confident, and we've maybe questioned some of his methods in handling man management, maybe with Trent in particular, but there's no question he's getting results, and Liverpool are that FPL points machine we needed them to be. with Haaland so dominant, it would have been a pretty tedious start to the season if Salah hadn't have kept pace as he has, because then, we wouldn't be sitting here even debating whether we go Haaland, because he would be absolutely dominating. But the fact that Salah, with a Liverpool team that looks like they're going to be scoring goals regularly, Salah's a viable option, which is what we need. And now we need other players to join that. We need Son to step up. We need Saka to step up to rival Haaland. Otherwise, we just don't want that one player dominating things, do we?
Yeah, I did an article for Sportscasting, which you can see on my Twitter, which was, I was looking at, if I was going to wildcard this week, what route would I go down? Would I go, Salah only? Well, no, because I don't think I'll be wildcarding out Haaland right now. Would I go Haaland only, or would I go for both? And even though I'm thinking of getting both in my team this week, doing that Saka and Isak move, I don't really like the idea of wildcarding and having both, just because when you look at what it does to the rest of your side, you're basically stuck having to play 3 5-5s every week. And okay, those 5-5s aren't bad, because I'm looking at like Minte, Rodgers, and João Pedro, for example. They're not a bad 3, but you're kind of locked in to them. So what happens if like a Szoboszlai emerges and you want to move and you need to find the extra million from somewhere, or you want to get Robertson, or Arsenal's fixtures turn soon, you want to get an Arsenal defender, you want to get Saka. It becomes very inflexible, and things change very quickly in the next few weeks. So I think I would still go for just Haaland if I was wildcarding this week, and it's what put me off doing it in this break, basically.
It's funny, actually. You changed your profile image on Twitter, and it's thrown me completely, because I saw this article on Twitter saying, "Oh, do you want to go Salah and Haaland?" I thought, well, that's handy. I'll have a read of that. And then I realised it was written by you, and I was like, oh, I haven't read it.
You're about to pay me a compliment. Oh, that's the best article I've always buy out.
Don't think there was a compliment coming, because that's not fine. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me when I look at teams that are, and this is one of the big topics at the moment, is about foregoing Saka to bring in Salah, it's the fact that Arsenal's fixtures, although they're really tough over the spell we're looking at here from 4 to 12, they're like third from bottom on the ticker. They've got Spurs and City next, and that's what's dragging it down. But there's also a bad run from game week 9, 10 and 11 when they face Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, Chelsea away. Now, that's a tough run. But in between that, sandwiched in between that, is in game week 6, Leicester at home, and in game week 7, Southampton at home. Those are probably the 2 best home fixtures you can have. And they get them back to back. And even without Odegaard there, if he isn't back by then, you'd still back Arsenal to score goals, get clean sheets. And so if you're moving away from Arsenal in order to get money for Salah, you've got that problem of game week 6 and 7, haven't you?
Well, I think it pretty much locks me into a wild card in 6.
Right.
Doing these moves, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world, because I want to be able to take advantage of that fixture swing anyway, and probably triple up on Arsenal over that time. But I can't be going into, at the moment I've got no Arsenal defender, and I won't have Saka if I take him out for Salah. So how am I going to move back to those for 6? I'm not really going to be able to. So I think that's going to be a wild card in 6 for me, if and when I go ahead with it, because I'm going to go ahead with it. Yeah,
I think without an Arsenal defender, I can absolutely see why you're doing it, because you're not only are you not going to have Saka, you've got to get an Arsenal defender as well for that run. I get it. I think if you did have an Arsenal defender, though, if you were in that situation, would you be thinking twice about selling Saka? Because you are committing the wild card, really, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, if it's just one transfer, you could, in theory, do Salah back to Saka, and
would you do that though? When Salah's going to Wolves and Palace?
Wolves at Wolves, that's it. You're going to be selling Salah when he's away at Wolves. I mean, if I wildcard though, it's probably going to be the same boat, because, like I said, I'm probably not going to go with Haaland and Salah. So then I'm getting rid of Salah away at Wolves. And I mean, he's probably the best captain option that week, isn't he? Because, like you said, Haaland's got Newcastle away. So maybe it's a case of holding off until 7 to wildcard Salah out. When he plays Palace away, which is still a pretty good fixture, but it's not as good.
You can captain Saka, surely. Are you not going to do that? You're not going to captain Saka at home to Leicester?
Yeah, maybe. I don't really trust Saka as a captain.
You're not?
I don't know. Well, you captained him and got 6 points.
Yeah. I mean, his ceiling does feel like it's lower than Salah and Haaland, for sure. I get that. But he's a consistent points machine. Like I have no doubt he will get returns in those 2 games. Whether he'll get double figures, that's the big issue, isn't it? I guess.
I mean, you'd expect him to get at least one. I mean, if he doesn't get one double-digit haul against Leicester and Southampton at home, like you said, there's 2 best fixtures you can have. It's going to be an interesting period, that, because you're going to want all 3 of those players, and you can do it, but like I said, you're going to be massively low in other areas of your team.
So you're not thinking of wildcard into that scenario?
Well, I'm not ruling it out, but would I wildcard into Salah, Haaland, Saka, and Trent, and then have to deal with all the low, all the other dross that I'm going to have in my side? I mean, that's not even taking into account, Palmer, for example, who's got Brighton at home in 6, and then Forest at home in 7. 2 home games for him. He's incredible at home last season. It's a real dilemma.
It is, and I think we're sitting here in game week 3 or 4, and it's like, are we confident enough that we know where the value is? Like, we can get to midfielders in a bit, and we look at Minte, Semenyo. There are players there that you think, well, they can at a 5-5 fulfill the role of enablers to get me to a place where I could get those big hitters in.
Yeah,
but we're only 3 game weeks in, and so, like you say, someone could yet emerge as a major bandwagon that we want to move to, and then you're cut off from making that without making multiple transfers, obviously. Yeah, so it is early.
Still. Yeah. Well, the other option is you don't go for Saka and you go for Havertz.
Yeah,
up top, and if you've got Isak, for example, well, Isak in 6 has got Man City, so that feels like a good time to sell him. He then immediately goes into Everton off the back of that. But maybe that's, if you can't move for Saka because you don't want to lose your Salah and Haaland, maybe that's the way you attack those 2. Because up to now, Havertz has been outscoring Saka, so it might not carry on happening, but at the moment you could have a go. But not having Saka for Leicester and Southampton at home is a worry. You're going to be, especially after what I saw against Brighton, because like you said, he could have hauled in that. He just sometimes finds a way not to get all the points that he deserves.
But what I will say is we're going to touch on the impact that Odegaard's absence could have on Arsenal and Saka later in the show, and maybe that's a factor. Obviously, Havertz has been playing up front, and he's not. You don't think he's going to be with Odegaard out. It's whether or not Odegaard is back for game week 6 and 7, which he could be. We've yet to hear the length of the injury. We're thinking 3 weeks, could be a month. Right? That's what the talk is, but not been confirmed as yet. We'll get onto that in a bit. Let's look at goalkeepers though. So I was going to ask you about Verbruggen, because we're waiting for a 4-5 option to stand out, because at the moment the heavy hit of goalkeepers, and I say that mildly because they're 5-5, so it's not a big outlay. At the moment, it's still Alisson and Raya out on top, and it looks like if you went and spent the money, that's been well spent at the moment. But we're braced for a 4-5 to break through, and when they do, that could be where you save. And when people wildcard in 6, maybe by then there's enough confidence in a 4-5 to move there. It could be Flecken with great fixtures for Brentford, for example. But you've also mentioned Verbruggen, and you've also mentioned the rotation between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I put my neck on the line a little bit last time we did one of these, when I said Verbruggen was going to reclaim that spot from Steele. I didn't, expecting him to get a bloody low move or something, but luckily he came straight back into the side. I do really like Verbruggen. I like him as a goalkeeper. Like I said, I do think Brighton's defence in the medium to long term will improve. The trouble is you want him for the next 2 because that's when we got 2 really, really good home fixtures. And I'm not really sure what happens in those. I think we should keep at least 1 clean sheet across those, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we conceded in both. But if you go over to the fixtures quickly, I mean, Verbruggen and Flecken have got just an unbelievable rotation. You obviously would bring in Verbruggen, play him this week for Ipswich and Forest, and then you'd play Flecken for West Ham and Wolves. You can also then play him in Manchester United as well, which isn't awful. Brighton have got Newcastle away, and they always find a way to beat us. So I'd probably stick with Flecken in that one. But then you play Verbruggen with Wolves at home, and then you move back to Flecken, and you have Fulham, Bournemouth, and Everton. So the toughest fixture from now right up until game week 12 is that decision between Manchester United and Newcastle. The rest is as good as it gets, I think. The only thing with that is, if you're planning on doing it a bit later, you don't really need Verbruggen, because you can just keep Flecken. So I'm seeing teams, wildcarded with just Flecken. The next two are rough, and you're probably not going to get a clean sheet in either of those. But then from then, you've saved the 0.5, and you can just play Flecken across the board. But if I was doing it right now, I think I'd go with both.
I'd counter it as well by saying, you're spending 9 million on a keeper there. You're getting 2 4-5s, and you can get for 9.5 for an extra 0.5. You could get Raya or Allison, right? So it's like the degrees of savings you're getting then goes down, and then you've always got to get the rotation right. Whereas you can just stick Raya and Allison in and then forget about it. So it's whether that 0.5 is going to be worth it. And I'm a big advocate of saving money and team value. So there's no question that it could be at some point. I think at the moment, again, it's too early for us to know which is the best route to go. But Flecken from 6 looks very good, and he will be the go-to for wildcards at that point. There's no question, just because of the fixtures, but also 17 saves made so far. He hasn't kept a clean sheet. They've conceded 4 goals in 3 games, which isn't terrible, but 17 saves is by far and away the most saves on show here. So Flecken is what we knew he was. Someone who makes a lot of saves in a game. Hasn't resulted in any bonus yet, because what's interesting is no keeper's got any bonus without keeping a clean sheet as yet, which is what we expected because of the
not even anywhere near. Nowhere near.
No. So you're not. I mean, Flecken might get you save points, but don't expect that to be coupled with a bonus point here and there, because it doesn't look like it's going to happen this season. And obviously, the flip side of that is that Ray has been fortunate in that they have conceded shots. He's made 10 saves. And in the 2 clean sheets that he's kept, he's got an average of 2 bonus points. So, you've got to keep clean sheets to get bonus as a keeper, it seems.
Yeah. I mean, the boat is still cheaper to go with the 2 4-5s than go for Raya and a 4. So you're still saving a bit of money there. And obviously, you then pair it with a Gabriel or a Saliba to cover the Arsenal defence. And you could bench them for the next 2 if you don't think they're going to keep, if you think they're going to concede, and then bring them in. I mean, I think Alisson's still a no-go though, because I still think you want to keep that 3rd Liverpool spot available. So it's Raya, it's Raya, the rotation, or just Flecken. I think they're your 3 options. I wouldn't be going near anyone else.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see the movement towards Flecken, but I'm not going to sell Raya, I don't think. Maybe I might do on the wildcard, depending on when that comes out, but at the moment, I'm going to hold tight and see if a strong 4-5 really does emerge. So it's a question of whether Brentford use those fixtures. It is an incredible run though, and so Flecken, I'd expect Flecken to emerge, but we'll see how it turns out. Pickford, miserable, 24th. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, it's just been 10 goals conceded. He has made 9 saves, so he could yet be a 4. Well, he could yet be. I was going to say a 4-5. He's not. He's 5 million, which obviously. He's stacked against him. He's gone down to 4.9 as a result of the start he's had. Don't see him being a factor in our season at all.
It's bloody Groundhog Day, isn't it? From last season. This is exactly what we said last year. They conceded loads of goals in the first few weeks. He looks absolutely dreadful. People wildcarded him out, got rid of him, and then Deitch got them playing and turned them around. But I mean, there's nothing positive really. The only thing positive about Everton was that they should have been outside. They honestly should have been 5-0 up. I think in that game against Bournemouth, I thought they were brilliant, particularly in the first half. But then Pickford made a mistake. I think that might even be the second one he's because it was against Spurs, wasn't it? He did the clanger for Son.
Yeah, and just took it off his toe.
Yeah, just took it off him,
knocked it in. Yeah,
and had another one on this. And when you've got one of your star players doing that, you're just asking for trouble. So they need to massively turn it around. But I just don't see it for now.
Deitch has either got, it will turn, otherwise Deitch should be gone, because he can't keep losing games by this margin, so he's got to turn for them. I mean, we'll see. Maybe Pickford can do what he did last season. Back,
it should help him.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, he's a key player, isn't he? Defenders, Trent reigning supreme, 0.67 XGI non-penalty per 90. Ahead of the pack. I mean, the chasing pack as it stands here are Coleman, Milinkovic and Sugawara of Southampton. It's not going to stay like that. Those 3 will drop away. It's just because of the sample size. Trent won't drop away though. Trent will be there all season, I think.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember Coleman back in the glory days, marauding? Yeah. I remember going for Baines over Coleman, and it was an absolute disaster.
That was a debate, wasn't it? Baines over Coleman.
The answer was both, I think. But I remember Coleman outscored him. It was toward the end of Baines' legacy. Yeah, Coleman was a great asset though. I loved it, but yeah, he's not going to stay. He's not going to stay on this list. Trent, yeah, he's going to hit a massive haul soon. I'm sure he is. He's gonna hit a 12, 13 pointer, and I think it could well be in the next 2 weeks against one of these two teams at home.
So if you're wildcard in 6, you're keeping Trent.
I can't see, unless Slot drops him or it looks like he's massively fallen out of favour or he gets injured, I can't see losing Trent. Can you? I think he's going to get close to 200 points for 7 million in a defensive slot.
Yeah, I see it that way. I just think that it will take one big haul and then we'll see huge bandwagon. I think it just hasn't arrived as yet. Yeah, British 87 saying, is it? No, it's Nicola saying Sugawara won't drop. He has got a very good reputation.
That can't be right, can it?
Sugawara, yeah. Sugawara. He has got a good reputation going forward. And the numbers here may be sustainable. I mean, the only reason why I think he'll drop is because Southampton as an attacking team won't allow him to sustain that. He has got the goal, of course, already. And maybe there could be potential there as a 4-5 option, but I don't know.
Are you ever going to play him, though?
No.
Are you ever going to play him?
Well, unless he's going to emerge as a Leif Davis threat. And, because I do see him as being a 4-5, and he's down in 18th in this table with 0.13 XG on penalty per 90, well below Sugawara. But I expect Davis to climb that table as soon as Ipswich's fixtures soften up. So he's, for me, still the one that I would go with if I was going to look for a 4-5 from a promoted team. Of course, Romero and Porro, pretty solid. I'd expect them to remain near this kind of area. Certainly Porro. We're not going to go for Spurs for clean sheets all season, but Porro is a player that's still hanging on in a lot of teams. Probably will remain in my team for now. Porro for Robertson is what I'm looking at. Robertson is 0.26, somewhat behind Trent now. Do you think there's an argument there? Do you think the million gap can be bridged?
What, with him and Trent?
No.
No. I think, sometimes you've got to pick your battles when you're trying to cost cut. And I just think Trent's got so much more to his game than Robertson has. I mean, is Robertson 6? Was he 6'5"? He's 6, isn't he? Same as Van Dijk.
Yeah, 6. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, because it was that Van Dijk was the cheapest, wasn't it? And then Robertson was like one step up, and then Trent was the thing. So, I mean, I'd definitely go for him over Van Dijk, but I'd find the extra million for Trent. I just think Trent is non-negotiable for me. He would just be the first player in my team. I think you could even build a case for not going with Haaland like you have, not going with Salah, anyone else. If I see a team without Trent, I just think you're risking it here, because that is a 7 million asset taking up a spot that you have to play a player in who's going to hit a massive haul at some point. Too much gamble.
7th 8 Nori 0.27. He's the one that could emerge when the fixtures get better for Wolves, but they don't get better for a really long time.
No.
I mean, it's Newcastle and Villa next. Newcastle at home, Villa away, then Liverpool, then Brentford away, then City. It's dreadful. I mean, that not until really. I mean, you can't say Brighton away is easier. So you got to get to game week 10, haven't you?
Yeah,
like you say.
Yeah, and is O'Neill even going to be in charge by then? I hope so. But if they lose every game up until game week 10, then there's going to be questions asked, isn't there?
So, 8 Nori could be someone we look at because his numbers are really impressive. Shots per 90, 1.72, chances created 1.29. He's played left wing back now in a back three, which I think will be the preferred system while they ride out these tough fixtures. So he will remain in this top 10, I think, and he'll be someone we'll look at should O'Neill be there and they're still playing wing backs. And then I want to talk about Lewis and Vardiol because Vardiol's crept in. No, honestly, Vardiol's crept. He wasn't in this table last week, but he's crept in after a more attacking display, 0.22. Vardiol's the go-to if you want security, but they're by far and away the City options, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, Lewis is the interesting one of what you do. Again, if you're on a wild card, what you do with that. I mean, Vardiol had an XGI of 0.55. That was mostly from, I think, one good chance that he created. He's still not the marauding asset that we wanted. And when you've got Lewis there at 4.7, he's obviously very, very attractive. You need to have a bench that kind of covers it. If you're wild carding, I guess you go safe and you pick like a Dunk or Mikalenko. Obviously, there's Greaves now at 4 million and Face, so you can get rid of your Ben Johnsons and your Barcos and not have to worry too much about it. But I still want a bit more data on Lewis. I still want to see a couple of games. This Arsenal games that's coming up is going to be massive, because if Lewis starts in that, then and plays 90 again, and then you've got 5 weeks of him playing 90, and he started their most important game, one of the most important games they're going to have all season, then clearly he's got that kind of sewn up. But Walker's lurking, Foden's back in training and lurking around. Yeah, I think I would punt on him, but I'd want to give it a couple more weeks. But yeah, you must be loving having him. You got a little price rise out of him as well, up to 4.7.
I've got a couple of them. I got a couple out of him. Yeah, I mean, that was the gamble. Like, I bought him for one game and hoped he would play well enough to keep his place. He was impressive for England as well. He hasn't put a foot wrong yet. So, but we know Pep, like he could let him down. But the way he's talking about him, I think that he's there now. I think he'll have a place in that side. I don't know what that means for Walker, whether Walker gets Europe. We'll have to see. And that's what we want the answers on. And that'll be the case very soon. Nico Williams in 11th, seen a few mentions of him in chat. The only query there, he is far forward. Yeah, shots per 90, 2.33. Chances created 1 per 90. Been an impressive start to the season for Williams. We've had easy fixtures. What I would say is Moreno has been bought. He could go at left back and Aina could then get right back. Aina, for me, is a superior defender to Williams, and I think he's good enough going forward as well. So Nico not nailed long term, so beware if you're thinking of doing that. I wouldn't do that. And
well, when we get our draft video out of our bickering,
we've got Moreno.
You assured me with as much vigor as I did with Barco that Moreno was going to oust Williams from the side. So I'm expecting Moreno to be in very soon and Williams to be out, or I will be very
No, I think Moreno will start. His quality going forward is really strong. Neither Williams or Aina can offer that, and I think we need that side, because it does unlock Hudson-Odoi more to have a natural left footer outside him. Because at the moment we've got a problem where the fullback doesn't go around Hudson-Odoi, and Hudson-Odoi wants to come inside, so we don't have that threat around to overlap him. So Moreno gives us that. So you can see the logic.
I think I'll get Moreno. I love watching Moreno play. If he's actually
a player, isn't he?
Nail down like a marauding fullback role for as we've seen, a good defensive side under Nuno in terms of the stats, he could be an absolute steal at 4-5.
Yeah, if we keep the good defensive data going through tougher fixtures. So, I mean, this is a good test for us now. We go to Liverpool and then we've got an easy game at Brighton, but after that, he really does stiffen up.
You're going to that, aren't you?
I'm going to that. Looking forward to it. Yeah, but we can't do it again. We cannot do the game. What are you doing now? What you going?
I'm in Madrid. I'm in Madrid, and I messed it up. I think because when we were thinking of dates, I had the Forest game in mind, but I'd put Forest in the wrong week on the calendar. I'd put it for this week coming forward. So I'm going to the Ipswich game on Saturday, but I thought that was the Forest game. I know. Well, last year you had already had plans to go to a concert. Yeah.
I want to see Pavement. You can't turn that down. They might not be playing, might not be alive much longer, let alone playing the music. So I have
to go to the City grounds in the new year.
We've got to do it because we keep threatening to do a vlog while we're there as well, and people will enjoy that. And we do a live stream after.
It's ridiculous. We haven't gone, but yeah,
absolutely. We'll talk about Ben White just down there in 45th. He is ahead of Anthony Robinson, who's been the star for many FPL teams so far this season, but Ben White hasn't created a single chance yet. Nothing from him. So expect that to pick up, but not justifying the price tag at the moment for Ben White.
I'd still go Saliba.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Let's look at mids.
Hang on. Whoa. There's a player.
Well, where do you want me to go?
We have to talk
Brighton
about
defender.
Lucas Dean.
Oh, you don't want to go there. If you're going to talk people into going to Lucas Dean, you are... And you called him Lucas Dean, the latest mispronunciation.
Unless I mention Lucas Dean, even if it's supposed to say don't go there.
I've put him on there, but if you're going to chat people up into going Lucas Dean, you're asking for trouble after what you did to start the season.
No, I'm going to do the complete opposite. I'm going to say that for anyone who might be newer to fantasy football or whoever who isn't quite familiar with Lucas Dean, to me, he is the number one worst troll in FPL.
There it is.
There he is. There is no one more of a drop. I remember starting with him a few seasons ago, and his underlying stats were really good. He got like blank, 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 and then scored an own goal. And then they conceded in like the 90th minute, I think, he scored an own goal. And that is owning Luca Dean. He can be as good as you want. He can have all the great stats, great fixtures for Villa. I promise you, you bring him in, you'll regret it. Don't go there. That's my monologue.
You know what happens next? Big haul coming for
because he's a troll. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Whenever you think he's going to do well, he doesn't. Whenever you think he's going to do badly,
he's hilarious because he finds different ways each time, and they get more bizarre by the minute, don't they? Like he'll get booked in the last minute when he's just about to get free bonus or something. He's a crazy. Yeah,
it's just pain, do it. Honestly, I've never known a player so consistently troll people who go there. It's unbelievable.
Well, Darwin's getting there, but yeah.
Well, yeah. To be fair, Darwin and Dean are right up there.
Midfielders, you have to have one start to appear on this table, which is why Garnacho's right at the top, but he's only had 124 minutes, a very small sample. His XG on penalty is 1.19. He's right at the top of all midfielders, but then
I like it this week,
we get to the quality. Sorry, what was that?
I like Garnacho this week.
Yeah, there's no question he's a good player. He's not going to be number one for XGI non-penalty over the season, but he's going to drop down. But I expect him to be there or thereabouts in the 30 for sure. Salah will probably be top in this table for most of the season. He's there, 1 XGI non-penalty per 90 at the moment, and then Diaz 0.94, De Bruyne 0.93. Yeah, Diaz incredibly high. And I want to bring up, we've got our key performance indicators. So I've got those again. I just want to bring them up again because this table is basically showing midfielders this season who have improved on their XGI non-penalty per 90 compared to last season. Garnacho right at the top, 0.79. We go down to Diaz though. So he's improved his XGI non-penalty per 90 by 0.37. But if you look across, he's also improved his shots in the box per 90 by 0.29 and his chances created by 90 by 0.60. So Diaz, at the moment, even though it's a small sample, we've got a combination of the eye test and this data to suggest that Diaz under slot is a different player. Now, it is too early. We can't jump to conclusions. But how much longer do you leave it before you have to start thinking Diaz has to be in our teams?
Well, again, to talk about the draft, because that was a kind of a window into what we were thinking. We had a brief discussion, didn't we, about whether to draft Jota or Diaz, because we could have had either. I think it was our third pick, wasn't it? We could have had either. And in the end, we both agreed that Diaz was the one to go for. And at the start of the season, I think we both would have said, I went for Jota over Diaz. Obviously Jota's like biggest fan. But you were, you were also waxing lyrical about Diaz, but I think we both probably would have picked Jota. But it's been a couple of weeks. The eye test supports Diaz, the stats support Diaz as well. I guess you've got that slight worry about the international minutes this week. The fact Darwin hasn't travelled anywhere, I do wonder if he's going to give him a chance in the team over Diaz. But the way Diaz has been playing, it'd be a bit risky, wouldn't it?
I think Diaz starts. He might only get an hour, but I think he starts.
Yeah,
I just think he's just won all 3 games, scoring goals. Diaz is on fire, and I watched him actually. I watched him in the internationals. I watched him play for Colombia against Argentina. He didn't sparkle, to be fair. So I was just interested to see how he would perform in that. But it's just the positions he's taken up for Liverpool, that he is kind of hitting that narrative that he would get more central, he would get more far post, and obviously the cross is coming over from Trent and Salah. That's where the creativity is. It's all that side. It's all right side, isn't it? Right? Salah, their most creative player after Trent, and then you've got Szoboszlai that side as well. So we did say, like, if the service is going to come in, it does seem that Jota's not being that big number 9, getting on the end of stuff. It's Diaz coming far post, getting on the end of it.
Is Jota going to become the new Firmino who drops back? Still does all right, but it's Mane and Salah who were the ones back then. Yeah. And I think I said before that Manchester United game, I didn't think Diaz has the potential to score as many goals as Mane did, but 2 really well taken goals against Manchester United, 2 different types of goal as well. And obviously the counter-attack goal he scored the week before that So he's scoring all different types of goals, getting into the right areas. Like we keep saying, stats are good, everything. He's one to back, I think, because there's no real reason why that should decline. You'd think if he's still getting the chances, hopefully that would improve and he'd actually, carry on doing well because he's clearly an elite talent. It's just amazing that like Gordon was so heavily linked, wasn't he, with Liverpool?
Yeah.
And I think if Gordon had signed, I don't know how close they were to signing Gordon, but if that had gone through, I wonder if Diaz would even be at the club right now.
Because you presume he's going to play left side, right?
Yeah, you think so. Well, he's not. Well, Gordon would come in to take Salah's place, would he? So they're paying 75 million or whatever it was for Gordon. I mean, that could have been complete nonsense, and maybe they were never really in for Gordon. But there was a lot of rumours about it. But
maybe agent talk for contracts. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's talk about De Bruyne because he was unlucky at West Ham. Disabled Luke Williams bought him and was waxing lyrical about how he's gone maverick again, and he was unfortunate not to get a return from De Bruyne in that game.
Yeah.
But he stands out well here, doesn't he? 0.23 is XGI up per 90 compared to last season. Interestingly, chances created are down 0.62, so he's not really that creative force yet, but shots are up 0.82, so he's being more direct. 3 games, small sample, etc. De Bruyne ever going to be a factor? I guess Foden coming back really puts a shadow over it, right?
Did you see that interview he did about his pace in the new EA Sports FC game? He's been given 67 pace, and he got his FIFA card. And he looked at it, and he was like, I think they must have rated me when I was on crutches last season, which I thought was very good.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, Foden is an interesting one, isn't he? Because if Lewis continues in that central midfield spot and Walker doesn't come back, Foden, I mean, it's ridiculous to think that player of the season last year might struggle to find his way back into the team. But City have looked so effective in those first few games that does Foden automatically come straight back into the side? Probably, but it causes a bit of disruption to the way City have been playing. I mean, if things are as they are now, I think De Bruyne is a good option going in from game week 7 because the fixtures, if you go back to the fixtures for Man City, after the Arsenal and the Newcastle game were out the way, Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth. There's a brilliant run of 4 games. So we might be looking to pair Haaland up with someone for those. And if Foden isn't really in the picture, then De Bruyne is the next best option because you wouldn't really trust anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that period. I mean, when I'm going to play my wildcard, I'm not sure. At the moment, I'm thinking maybe between 7 and 8, which is the next international break. And game week 8 is when I'm probably going to have to get on a City player because I can maybe captain Salah or Saka until then, because Saka's got Southampton at home game week 7. But when Haaland faces Fulham, so maybe I can play my Saka against your Haaland. But certainly after that, when Haaland goes to Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, if I'm not getting Haaland, surely I've got to get some kind of City attack there. And I need Foden to be back. Otherwise, you're right. Maybe we'll be looking at De Bruyne, and he's showing a different player so far. But it's 3 matches. We'll see if that continues. I wanted to mention Matoma here as well, because he's increased his XGI non-penalty per 90 by 0.18. His other factors are all down though. Touches in the box are down, shots per 90 are down, as are shots in the box. He's getting some traffic this week because of the fixtures. Where do you stand on him?
Well, I was kind of all in on him before this week. I had my transfers planned before the international break. I was going to bring Watkins in for Isak, and I was going to bring Matoma in for Gordon. I was pretty locked in on that, and then I saw what happened with Salah, and I saw what happened with João Pedro as well, getting that goal and getting another 90, and also the fact he wasn't supposed to be going on international duty, and then gets bloody called up anyway because of an injury. But we'll talk about him when the forwards come round. It kind of put me off Matoma a bit. And obviously, there's Minte there as well for a little bit cheaper. But I really do like the Matoma pick, and I think particularly against Ipswich, I think he could do really, really well in that game because he's got. I mean, I'm sure most people listening to this have seen Matoma play, but he's an incredibly talented and tricky player. But he's got one move which just is so effective against weaker opposition, which is he gets the ball kind of just outside the area, he basically brings it to a complete stop, and then he just kicks it really far past the defender and just runs onto it, and then just centers it into the penalty area. And I tell you, that is going to cause who's it going to be at right back, Ben Johnson or whoever is playing there.
You'd think Ben Johnson,
he's going to ruin the right back with that for Ipswich. I just think him against newly promoted teams is going to be so effective, because he was getting some joy, in other games this season, not so much against Arsenal. Well, exactly, against Ashley Young, absolutely terrorised him. So when he's playing against maybe a less adept right back, he's going to be very effective. The touch in the box per 90 is a bit concerning. They're -3 on that, but yeah, the XGI non per 90 is a bit higher, because I think that's been quite an effective tool for him.
Like, it's interesting, Salah is the only really big hitter here amongst the midfielders. You look up the list, and yeah, Bruno's up there. So he's 8.4, and he has improved, 0.27 improvement on his XGI non-penalty per 90, which could be of interest. Could be enough for people to hold him for one more week. But Salah's in there, so Salah's XGI non-penalty is up, as are his touches in the box per 90. So, and his shots in the box per 90. So the key performance indicators are showing that Salah, he's not in decline. It's going almost the other way.
What do you make of his comments after the match? Because they said to him, what's happening with the contract or whatever, and he said, didn't he, this is my last year at Liverpool, and I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know whether that is bluster to see what they can offer. I don't think it's going to affect him. People have said, do you think he's going to simmer down as the season goes on, as he's winding down, and is he off to Saudi? I mean, I guess that would be the most likely outcome. I think Liverpool are going to be talking, aren't they? They're going to be thinking, he's going to be going. I think he's going to continue to prove to be someone who can be elite. I don't see him declining as yet, and Slot seems to be getting the best out of him so far, and he's super fit, so he can carry on playing in the Premier League. There's no question. It's whether or not there's desire to stay is there. I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? And they've got Van Dijk on the last year as well, and there was speculation about Trent. So yeah. So is this the end of an era, and are Liverpool going to go full tilt for the title because of that? Is it going to be a motivational factor? I don't know. It is interesting to that. I don't think that's going to impact FPL at the moment, though. There's no sign of that.
It's just sometimes when you've got these contractors. I mean, look at Tony last season. He just went completely off the boil, didn't he? I mean, do you remember Aubameyang when he signed the new contract and he didn't score for like an entire season as well? So you can make as many narratives as you want about it, but the fact is there is this thing going on with Salah. He said it's his last year, and he started the season maybe even better than he started any of the last couple of years.
If you were playing top trumps, and the top trump category was professionalism, and you had Salah, Aubameyang, and Tony, who would have the highest score for professionalism?
Very good point.
Yeah. So I think it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Salah's not someone who's going to. I don't know. He's not going to let his performance.
I didn't think that about Aubameyang at the time, though.
Yeah.
Arsenal, wasn't he? And he'd been scoring 20-ish goals and got the goals in the FA Cup, and he was kind of like the talisman of the side. I don't know what really happened with that. And now, obviously, all the stuff happened with Chelsea and at Barcelona, his reputation's kind of in the mud. But at the time, it seemed when they gave him that, I think him like a 5-year deal or something. It seemed like that was a really good bit of business.
Yeah. I really want people to invent top trumps for professionalism for footballers.
Who'd be top? Who would be top of your professional top trumps list?
Harry Kane, maybe. I don't know. Is he professional? I think he is, given how long he stayed at Spurs without winning anything.
Yeah, that's true.
There's lots of comments about Bournemouth midfielders. Why would you buy Tavernier, Semenyo? Tavernier, you were sleeping on Tavernier, says Neil's Apples.
Wow, lots of
love. Yeah,
the
number of Bournemouth midfielders. Yeah, it is Tavernier. So I'm having a bad night with pronunciation.
You really are, yeah.
The number of Bournemouth midfielders that are featuring on this table and the table we're going to go back to is quite extraordinary. Sinistera, Tavernier, Semenyo, Utara. I got that right. See, I got all those right.
That was a good one.
I can do it when I concentrate. So they're all in this table. They're all improved on last season. And if we go back to the midfielders table, you'll see that they're all there as well. They're all up there in the top echelons of this table for XGI non-penalty per 90. Bournemouth, as we saw with the attacking data, if we go back to that, were third, I think. Yeah, third, 1.95 of the season. So what do you put that down to? Is it, I mean, the fixtures haven't been that easy. I mean, they're showing red there. Do you think that we need to start taking them seriously as a source of value? Because Semenyo's been the one that's jumped out so far. But maybe it doesn't stop there. Maybe Tavernier could be an option.
Well, they have played Everton. Yeah, it's always a slight boost to those.
More than that, yeah.
I thought they'd struggle more. I thought there'd be. I really like Bournemouth as a unit. I really like the manager as well, and I think he obviously did great things with them. I thought losing Solanke though would be big adjustment period, bigger than we thought. But I mean, they did have Semenyo who last season stepped up. With the goals, been 8 goals for him, 4 assists. Across last season, so that's the difference between him and Tavernier. Is Tavernier never really got anywhere near those numbers. I think he got about half or maybe even less of the attacking returns, probably like 5 or 6 attacking returns last season, whereas Semenyo now looks like he's moving up even more. I really like him at 5.5. I think he's an option, and I think, again, when we talk about going for Haaland, going for Salah, having to play 3-5-5s, I think actually Rodgers, Semenyo, and Pedro is a pretty decent 3 who are all underpriced.
Yeah, I was looking at how I could wildcard now and get to Salah, Haaland, and it would involve dropping down to a Semenyo from Son.
Yeah.
But I looked at it and thought, you know what? Does that feel like? I mean, it is a big drop because of the historical, the legacy that Son has got in FPL. He's an elite player, no question. Almost describable as a heavy hitter. He has been in other seasons, but Semenyo, when we talked about Diaz as a player who could be exceeding his value, Semenyo definitely fits into that bracket as well. And it's just how long we wait before we start going, we really got to take this seriously. He's definitely providing what we hope Rodgers would at the moment. And I don't know if that's going to stop. I mean, Evan Nilsson has obviously arrived for Bournemouth, but he doesn't strike me as a player who's going to curtail Semenyo's attacking verve, so to speak. He's had so many shots.
I know. So he looks up for it as well. Like when just before it all turned for Everton, Semenyo was involved in a kind of altercation where he was fired up. He wasn't giving up that game, despite the fact they were 2-0 down. So I like that kind of fire about him. And the fixtures are good. I mean, Chelsea at home, Bournemouth will have a chance in that. They beat them last year, didn't they? I can't remember if it was at Stamford Bridge or if it was at their ground, but they definitely beat them quite early in the season. But then obviously it's Liverpool, then Southampton and Leicester. So they've got that little good games.
They're bottom of the ticker from Gameweek 4 to 12. So out of this run, they've got 2 very strong blue fixtures. It's a Southampton Leicester double up that Arsenal have also got. But they do have Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa away, City, Brentford away, Brighton at home. It's tough. It is the toughest run on here. So, you can be forgiven for ignoring Semenyo at the moment because of those fixtures, but we might be sleeping on him. We really might.
If you've got the ability to bench him in against Liverpool and against Arsenal, and then you probably look to take him out after the run, but that still gives you 3 really good fixtures, I think, to make that strategy of going with the premiums more viable. Because when you've got Minte, Smith Rowe, Rodgers, and him, and then Pedro, that's 5 all under 6 million. We've never had that before.
People saying that the move to Mbeumo has got to come. It has got to come. I think he's 15th in this table. He's got 3 goals already in 269 minutes. 0.63 XG on penalty per 90. We think it will stay there. He hasn't had a pen yet, but that will be coming.
Did you see the Southampton highlights?
Yes. Suicide. It's exactly what I said at the start of the season, didn't I? I said Martin's not going to change. And they haven't. The thing is, it's like Burnley. They don't have the quality to play in that way at this level. So I do worry. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think Mbeumo is a great pick, and I think he's gonna be probably a must from game week 6 onwards. But I just wouldn't take anything from that Southampton game because it was comical, genuinely comical how they were playing, the mistakes they were making, the invitation for the press against one of the best pressing sides in the league as well. Why are you messing around passing the ball out from the back? Like, get rid of it. I know no one wants to hear people say that, but
like I said, they've got Harwood Bellis is a good player, but Bednarak, Jack Stevens, they're not. No. I mean, they're not good, strong Premier League defenders who are good with the ball at their feet. I mean, they're okay. They're not. They're not necessarily really poor defenders, but I wouldn't associate them with being players who are press resistant, right? So, yeah. And I remember when Martin brought Swansea to the City ground, we were just catching them and they wouldn't change. He just carried on letting us do it. And that's what I fear that could happen to Southampton. I hope not, because I don't want the promoted teams to go down. But what I saw at Brentford was what I thought would happen, as whether or not Martin does start going a bit more direct. He can change, because he has done. I mean, he got the team up by changing the approach in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens next. But yeah, they can't do that.
He won't have an easier game all season than Mbumo to get 2 goals.
Sure.
It was just ridiculous.
But he's a quality player. There's no question.
Yeah.
If you're wildcarding in 6, which you've talked about, what are you doing about Brentford? Are you going in Mbumo?
You probably have to, don't you? The fixtures are so good, and he is the best asset from that side. So yeah, you probably go at least one defender and Mbumo.
You go a defender, would you?
I think
Flecken,
so. I mean,
or you go
Flecken. I mean, or you got Van der Berg, haven't you? We're hoping that he comes in. If you got a 4 million asset with the fixtures they've got, that again frees up a bit of money to do what you want with other areas.
He's a good player. I think he will get in. I think he's too good not to get in that side. Who he comes in for would be the question. But yeah. Another player I want to mention, just so that we can clip this and say, oh, look, we did mention him. I told you. Jack Grealish. I think...
Or just delete it if he's benched next game.
Well, I mean, obviously, ignore what I'm about to say if he does nothing for the next 6 weeks. But if he does score next week, then yeah, it's all down to us. We want the credit. The numbers suggesting, and what we're seeing playing for England as well, Grealish could be turning the tide a bit. He's only had 91 minutes, and the numbers are up. Do you think there's a chance that we could start seeing somewhat the kind of Jack Grealish we saw at Villa?
No.
You don't see it?
No, because why would he suddenly change what he's, he won the treble playing in a certain way, which was his best FPL season for City, and it wasn't that great. It wasn't like we were all, I think he was in my team for a bit, and he got a couple of returns, but he never looked like someone getting 15, 20 attacking returns in that season. And let's be honest, it's not going to get any better than that for him, is it? That was him playing 90 minutes almost every week for a treble winning side. This is him barely in the side with more competition. Not gonna happen.
It's interesting. I mean, we were talking about, Ian Wright was talking about it for England and saying that, to stay in Carsley's thinking, he's got to be playing for City. And he's done the 2 seasons now. He's not a veteran at City, but he's certainly a senior player there now. It's staying in that team. Will he be able to do enough? And what role will he continue to play? The role where he's effectively being the magnet for defence, so they can create space, which is what he's been there. It's not been about output for Grealish. It's been about sacrificing his own output for the gains of the team. I just wonder whether that's going to change, because what Pep will do, which all good managers do, is they'll change the way they play. They can't keep playing the same way, and they'll reinvent players within their system. And so I just wonder whether there's something worth keeping an eye on. I'm not saying it's going to turn into output yet, but I think it's worth, certainly when Foden is back and we start to see what Pep's going to do, and whether or not he's going to change things up, whether Grealish becomes a different type of Grealish.
I'd rather have Doku.
Back. Yeah,
I'd rather pick Doku at the moment. I think I think even if Grealish plays, we're still not sure he's just going to get the ball, recycle it and everything. Whereas at least if you get 45 minutes from Doku, he's going to go for it. Remember we said, I think was it last season, we were like, Guardiola's gone out and bought Doku, who basically was Grealish from when he was at Villa. That kind of tricky winger.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we can't really judge City until they're back to full strength, until Rodri's there, until Foden's there, and that's what we'll see. But I just want to keep an eye on, and just thought I'd mention it because it's always nice to then go, oh, we didn't mention him.
Clip that.
If you mention another 10 players, then one of them's going to come in, surely. So I was talking about Saka and Odegaard then, because Saka's in his table 13th, 0.72. Odegaard could be out for a while. Premier League put this up. This is completely ripped off a Premier League article, but I feel like
we'll put into our format. So it's
yeah, exactly. Well, I had to do that because it was so blurry and hard to read on their format. Plus, of course, they did miss off shots per 90, even though they mentioned it in the article. So that was a bit slack of them.
Terrible.
Yeah, standards. So I had to put shots per 90 in there. Now, I've highlighted the key stats. The points per 90 that Arsenal gain with Odegaard, 2.1. And it's 1.7 without Odegaard. So not a major drop, but a drop nonetheless. With Odegaard starting, shots per 90 go down from 15.9 to 13.3, and goals per 90 go down from 2.09 to 1.63. So that's the biggest drop. The win percentage as well is worth talking about there. 66% win rate with Odegaard, 52% without him. Now, I look at this and think, yes, there's a drop. But then you look below the pink bar there and you look at possession, you look at passing the final third, passing accuracy, opposition's half, no difference. No difference to that whatsoever. So it doesn't really affect their pattern of play without him. It does affect their results, but that could be down to, I mean, we're talking about 19 matches without him. That could purely be down to the opposition, right? It could be down to, so I don't look at this and think, oh, it's disastrous for Arsenal, like many people are saying. Do you?
My bigger worry is what we touched on earlier, which is having to move Havertz back and playing a false nine system with Trossard. I think this is where, you know, everyone thought Arsenal will go out and get a striker this time, and Jesus had a pretty good pre-season. I think a lot of trust was kind of put in him. I'm still not convinced he's the one to be leading the title charge for them up front. Although I did think that about Havertz, and he's obviously stepped up. But Havertz is so effective at the moment that taking him away from that role is what worries me. So it's going to be Havertz, Partey, and who else is going to be in the midfield? Havertz, Partey, and because Rice is out, Odegaard's out. Jorginho going to come in?
Could do.
It's a bit of a crappy midfield, isn't it?
Well, they got Sterling, right? We haven't talked about him. Is he going to be a factor?
Yeah, I mean, he could go up. Would he go false nine over Trossard?
I'm not going to start the Sterling false nine propaganda.
No, let's not go there. My point is that they're playing Spurs next. It's a massive game for them. Spurs will surely be looking at that midfield and thinking, we can, for the first time, we can dominate that mid. We can dominate that midfield.
Dominate's a big word, I think.
Or get at them. Havertz, Partey, and who did you just say? Jorginho. Yeah, I mean, Jorginho's not bad, is he? But I think I really do think that is going to stifle the amount of chances they get in that game. And it is Spurs; they're going to be leaky. But I think they might be reliant on more from a corner or something like that, where Spurs are weak from corners, and they've obviously got Gabriel and Saliba. I don't know how many open play goals or how many chances they're going to create with that midfield.
Mr. Greg Foster is a regular. Hello, Greg. He's reminding us that Martinelli, Havertz, Saka, Trossard, they can get some goals. I totally agree. So I'm going to show some more data. Let's show some more data first. This is totally ripped off. I just rip people off, really, don't I?
Should put this in our colours.
Totally ripped off an Opta analyst. I mean, I do go to the trouble of finding this stuff and researching and reading the articles. So thank you very much, Opta analyst, for this stuff. This is basically number of involvements in open play, shot ending sequences, which I love as a stat. So it's basically events that are leading to either a chance created, a shot on goal, or a shot ending sequence. So he's made a pass in a sequence that's ended in a shot. He's the top midfielder in the Premier League last season for that. So that kind of goes against what I said about 2 minutes ago, where Arsenal miss him so much. This would indicate that they would. But I will say also, look who's third, Saka, right? So they have got someone there who can take that up and fill that void to some extent. It's not like they're not going to create chances about Odegaard there, because they've got an elite player in Saka, of course. But that is significant, you would say. There's no question they will miss him. Declan Rice could arguably be an even bigger miss. So we don't know what we're going to get from Arsenal in this game. I'm going to show you one more graphic again from Opta Analyst, and
I think if you were to ask Arsenal fans who the one player they would want to not be out of this game, obviously it's between Rice, Saka, and Odegaard, but I think it would be Odegaard. I think he's the worst player they could lose for this. The captain, like the impact it has on other positions in the team, the way he started the season has been really impressive.
I'm not questioning that. And then this adds more fuel to the fire. This is the chances created by Saka and Odegaard as a pairing when they fed each other basically for shots. And their combination, which I think is 46 chances between them, is the biggest of any pairing in the Premier League last season.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, you need to read these articles.
Nicely plagiarised, Mark.
I know. So if there's a narrative to say, well, Saka would be fine without Odegaard, well, this kind of suggests that it's a big blow to him, because as a pairing, they're incredibly effective.
It's good news for me as a probable seller of Saka this week.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really make a strong case for saying it's not going to have an impact. The only thing I would say is that what Arsenal and Man City have in common is they're going to drive each other in every game this season. There is no question Arsenal and Man City will go into every game and play every minute as if they've got to win that game. There are no games that Arsenal or City are going to play where it's 1-1 with 5 minutes to go, where they're not going to go all out to win it. Now, I'm not saying you would think, well, that's the case of any team. I don't think so. I think the intensity in which City and Arsenal play and fight for every point to the very last minute is higher than any other teams in the league. Maybe Liverpool will get there this season, but the reason why they're top two is because they're driven by managers who will create that. Arsenal will go to Spurs regardless of their lineup, and they will expect to win and they will fight to win to the final whistle. So there's no way that Spurs are going to roll them over 2-0. There is no way. If Arsenal lose, it will be 3-2, 4-3 or something ridiculous. I don't think Arsenal will lose. I think they'll still win the game. So I still think Arsenal will score more than 1 goal, possibly 2, maybe 3, even without Odegaard and Rice, because their desire to win every game, to win this title, and this season they've probably got more chance than any, unless Odegaard's out for ages, will carry them through, I think. And therefore, if I think Arsenal are going to do that, they're going to win the game, they're going to score at least 2 goals, I'm not selling Saka.
Yeah. I think Spurs are going to win.
Do you?
I think Spurs are going to win it, yeah. I think, again, you talk about drive and all that. I think they're going to look at this and think, we're not going to get a better chance. We're not going to get a better chance in the next few years to beat Arsenal. You know, the fact it's a home game as well early in the season, put a dent in their title charge right now. There's no bigger motivation for Spurs. They're not as good a team, but with the missing players for Arsenal, it's a lot more even.
I think that
it could be a good game.
But I just think what I've seen from Arsenal's Arteta is they find a way now. And I think that they're growing as that kind of team all the time. And I think that, these are major blows. There's no question. And they've got Europe and then they've got City. It's a really, really tough period for them to lose Declan Rice in this one game, but also Odegaard to injury. No question. I think it is being overplayed in that people are going, oh, yeah, Moreno's out and so on. It's like they're not even in the team yet. Calafiori's not in the team. And, those 4 names are being mentioned. If Arsenal are going to be without these 4 key players, hold on a minute, 2 of them haven't even played yet. So people want to build this narrative up that they're absolutely crippled by injury. They've lost 2 major key players, no question. But I still think they're going to win that game. And that's why I think that I'm okay holding Saka. I wouldn't not endorse going Saka to Salah. I see the logic in it. Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if Saka still comes through and gets something out of that game, because Arsenal, I think, will still win it.
I mean, I'm expecting him to get something from the game. But I don't think it's. I would be a lot more worried when I saw Odegaard go off. That kind of made my mind up that Saka was going to go. I think before that happened, I was actually looking at spending the money because I'd already done Isak to Pedro, so because I thought there was going to be a double price drop for Isak and a price rise. I got the price rise, but obviously not the price drop. But then I was looking at other things I could spend the money on rather than getting rid of Saka, because I thought I can keep him, play him against Spurs. But once Odegaard got off, I thought, that's just one. That's just an extra incentive now to take a punt on him, not delivering him next 2.
It just feeds into the narrative, though, that if Saka gets a big return, I mean, return in that game last season, and if he does, you can just see people go, but then the Odegaard injury convinced me.
They'll say, hasn't Michael BlackBox presenting all those numbers about Odegaard and Saka partnership?
True. I mean, there was plenty to support selling Saka to go Salah, and I absolutely see that. I mean, of course it's logical. Salah's got great fixtures. Saka's in a team without 2 key players with tough fixtures. Absolutely makes sense. The only question I would ask is, do you think Arsenal can win at Spurs? I think they can. So if they're going to win at Spurs, Saka's got a good chance.
You've done well, Emma. You've played both sides like a absolute pro. I've nailed my colours to the Sika out mask, and here you are playing both sides.
Come out
genius. This is how you get away with this stuff, and I don't. No. It's genius.
I know, years of experience doing this stuff. Let's talk about forwards. It's a shame about Havertz, because my tactic ahead of game week 6 is going to be, and hopefully still can be, Isak to Havertz, just as you say, because I want to get on. I really want to go treble Arsenal, and if I'm not wildcarding, then I plan to save 2 transfers going into 6 and get Mbeumo and Havertz at that point. So if Odegaard's out, that could dampen my enthusiasm for Havertz. But he's here, he's 9th in the table. 0.53. He's got 2 goals, 1 assist. It's been a really good start for your favourite Sunday League player, as.
yeah, he's started really strong. I mean, I was definitely put off by the positional reclassification, amid moving to a forward, and he needed to basically do what he's been doing, and he's been very, very effective in it. I mean, if you've got him, you still play him, don't you? I don't think he's a sell. He can still do damage from the 8 position. That's the position where I wanted to see him last season, and I didn't actually think he could make it in that 9, because we'd seen him at Chelsea playing across all different positions and not really nailing his own. I mean, he started off on the wing for them, didn't he? And then sort of moved a bit more central, then dropped back, and never really made any position his own. Well, he's definitely made that 9 position his own. And yeah, I think going into those games against Southampton and Leicester, you want Saka, you want to pair another attacker. Really, I think for those two, it has to be Havertz, especially now with Odegaard out.
Agree. Yeah. That's something that Haaland we don't really need to talk about. The only thing I would say about Haaland is 71% accuracy, 50% conversion. That will regress. There is no question he can't maintain that. Whether that means that he's going to have significant regression of XGI and on penalty, I don't know. We're expected to come down somewhat, but it'll hover around where it is now, 1.05. But he won't get 13.72 points per 90, so that will start coming down. I hope.
He had another good chance though in that West. He could have had 4. Could have had 4 in that game.
And I have never, when we talk about players scoring back-to-back hat tricks and regressing, I've never been less convinced about regression than I am talking about Haaland, because
Brentford at home as well.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be completely out of the realms of possibility if he got a hat trick of hat tricks.
What I cling to, as someone who will go into Haaland without Haaland again, is that Thomas Frank is a shrewd tactical manager. Brentford are a team who will play 3 at the back, and they do have physical presence at the back. And I think that they'll do enough to keep him down to maybe 1 goal. That's what I hope. Brentford aren't a bad side away from home. They're not going to get skittled 3 or 4-0, I don't think. And also after international break, we often see some drop off. Yeah, clip that, not the Grealish nonsense.
If I offered you a Forest 1-0 win for a Haaland hat trick, would you take it?
Yes, of course. It's a Forest 1-0 win at Anfield. Of course I would. I'm Forest first, FPL second. But yeah, and
there'd be a bit of you that'd be like, "Oh, Salah captain."
Oh, 3 million rank. Oh, yeah, there'll be a bit of me like that. But I was 3 million this time last year in the world and didn't finish there, so I'd take it for a 1-0 Forest for sure. Yeah, I mean, Haaland will regress because that conversion rate, that accuracy is not going to continue. But like I say, you when you talk about regression, you're confident normally, but you're not when you're talking about Haaland, are you, at all? Whistle up there, which is great to see. I'm not going to propaganda him anymore because I'm just being arrogant about having him in my team. But Watkins, let's talk about Watkins. What are we doing here?
Oh, yeah.
It's an enigma, isn't it? What do you reckon's wrong? Do you think he's got a niggling injury? Is he being... Must have, mustn't he?
I think it must be like that Solanke injury, when he was like carrying something, but he was kind of still playing and it wasn't bad enough to rest him. But I mean, Solanke's game is a bit different to Watkins, isn't it? Watkins relies more on the pace, I'd say, to get in behind.
Yeah, because Solanke drops deep and
and Solanke can be involved in that, whereas Watkins needs to hit on the break. So it's obviously affecting him more. He hasn't been pictured in training, has he? We haven't seen any training images of him.
We're talking about Watkins, or we're talking about Solanke here?
Yeah, Watkins.
Well, neither have. No, Solanke's a mystery
true
as well, as it stands. Timestamp Thursday night, 11 o'clock. Blimey, 11 o'clock.
but Watkins, I mean, again, before the last episode, you and I were Isak to Watkins, 100%. Yeah. We are not going into Everton at home without Watkins. Everton did their best to show us why we shouldn't be going against that, because they completely capitulated and Villa are definitely going to get chances against them. But another 60-minute cameo and then not seen or heard of in 2 weeks since.
I mean, they have got Champions League to come, right? So we know that's looming, and so that might managing the load is something that Emery will have in mind, and presumably Watkins is going to be playing Champions League games, all of them, because of the new format. they've got an able deputy in Duran, right? So
this
he
is
can,
it. This
he
is the
can
other thing.
always bring that player on, and that
Yeah.
player is coming on and scoring goals. So it's a worry, isn't it? I mean, we definitely can't look at Watkins now as an assured asset, because we want more. I mean, with the injury time, we're not just losing 60 minutes. We're losing, 35, 30 minutes. Right? We're losing 35 to 40 minutes, right? And we know that the XG, typically in Premier League, the XG in blocks of time is stronger at the end of a game, right? That's where the greater amount of XG is generated. So losing a player consistently for the last 30 minutes is not someone we want.
No.
So we can't go there yet.
I don't think he's ready to play 90 minutes. I from what I've seen so far. I think it would be more of a surprise if he played 90 against Everton than it would be he either didn't start or played 60 again. And because of that, playing those odds, I don't think you go there. It's too much money. With so many other good assets around 9-10 million. And no penalties, which is obviously now going to Morgan Rogers after his
there we go.
for was it for the under-21s for England?
Yeah, took it well.
Great Ben. Yeah, great Ben.
Yeah, that would be handy. It might be the only way he gets us any bleeding points.
Well, he might get him if Watkins isn't playing, because he bloody Watkins that keeps messing up his assists.
It's true. Rogers is great. I'm keeping him for sure. Anyone else you want to pick out here? Evan Nilsson, good start, but only 135 minutes so far. Chris Wood is just lumbering.
Does he keep his place? When's he going to get dropped? Yeah.
I just don't see Big T being fit enough yet. I don't think. I actually think we're going to go false 9 at Anfield. I don't think Chris Wood will start. That will hurt Yellen.
Yeah, she won't be happy to hear that.
I've just got a theory. We're going to play James Ward-Prowse, play Anderson behind Gibbs White, and play the 2 wide forwards. Sorry.
Have you ever done that?
We've done false 9. We did a false 9 pre-season, and I think we did it at Anfield last season, which didn't go well. So Wood's travelling back because he's been in international duty. Plus, of course, I think we need to get James Ward-Prowse in the team at Anfield, because with Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, win free kicks around the box, and you've got someone who can score them, right? So that our best route to goal could be winning free kicks around the box, right? And we've got players in Gibbs White, Alanga, and Hudson-Odoi. We've got players who can absolutely do that. So I think Wood would just slow things down, and I've got an inkling he won't start.
You don't really like Wood, do you?
Well, you can't knock him because there's a pun there. Because
is very good.
Because I think it's something like 16 goals, isn't it, since he broke into the team? So I think he's scored more open play goals than any other forward or something ridiculous other than Haaland. So his record is incredible, and he just finds a way. But it's the role he plays in our build up. He does slow our attacks down, and he's not. I don't know. I just think away at Anfield, the graft that we'll get from having Gibbs White and a false 9 might be the way we go. So let's see what happens.
There's a couple more I think we should just cover. I'm aware we're reaching the 2-hour mark rapidly. We haven't done predictions yet, but I know there's lots of people talking about Welbeck. There's lots of people talking about Pedro as well. Obviously, he's played 45 minutes for Brazil, and he's got the private jet back and all the stuff going around that. But I mean, which one of those would you go for? Because I'm seeing this. There is a lot of talk about them. People are worried about Pedro, so they're going for Welbeck.
Yeah, I mean, short term Welbeck, but long term João Pedro. I just think Hurtzler likes him. He'll get the pens. I do think that he'll end up in the 9. I mean, Brighton better than me, but I just think he offers them a bit more than Welbeck. And Welbeck, you got to manage his minutes. So you're probably, while you're in, players like Ruta are getting up to speed, Welbeck's starting. But I think when Ruta's available, we'll see the change, and it won't be João Pedro losing his place. I think it'll be Welbeck. So I think I can see why we're going Welbeck now, because of the trip back, and is João Pedro going to start? I think he will. I think he will start. What do you think?
I think he might. I think he might come on at half time. I saw it with Matoma last season. That would be my prediction. That he comes on at half time. But he is the fact he's played those 90 minutes in all 3 games does show the importance that he's valued at in the side, which he wasn't really getting last year. So yeah, hopefully he starts. I mean, Welbeck is a good option if you're going to be wildcarding in 6. And there is a part of me that wishes I had gone Welbeck. I went Pedro early because he wasn't supposed to be going to Brazil. He was supposed to be staying at home.
It was a shocker, wasn't it?
Having a nice little rest. So if I was buying one now and wildcarding in 6, I think I probably would go Welbeck. Because I think he's almost certainly going to start the next 2.
Is he going to be in the team by game week 6?
Yeah, he'll start. Welbeck will start the next 2. I'm sure he will. Yeah,
I just think the longer it goes on and new players bed in, then
that's what I mean.
Matt O'Reilly's out, so he's not a factor.
You've got 2 weeks. You've got 2 weeks with Welbeck as an almost. I don't say guaranteed start because he could miss out in 7, but he's definitely starting this week. But yeah, Pedro's the much better long-term option.
Yeah, and if you've tuned in to Black Box this season, you know when Az talks about Brighton players, you've got to listen.
Oh dear.
Let's talk about our prediction standings before we get into our predictions. And we're almost neck and neck. In fact, we are. Total score 27.
Total score.
I want to talk about Hotline at the top, or Hotine, or whatever you want.
Unbelievable start.
77% correct outcome. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, I know it's only 3 weeks, but
not even that. 27% correct score as well.
This is crazy numbers. So we need to tap into what he's doing because that's crazy. I presumably he's a professional gambler and winning a fortune off the bookies every week. But that is incredible.
I sense there might be a bit of a drop off from Hotline.
Haaland's like regression, you mean? He's going to fall for the floor just like the Norwegian.
And if he continues that over the season, then he'd be wishing he played Super 6 or something rather than just our stupid game.
I need to buy shares in Hotline if I can.
It's worth mentioning, if you do want to get involved in this, you can join the Black Box Patreon. There's obviously still time. 3 game weeks in, but if you want to be winning the trophy, which is very. Did you see this trophy?
Oh, you've got the trophy. Oh, we should put a snip of it in, shouldn't we? Next week. Yeah. We'll stick it in. The trophy now exists. It's no longer a figment of our imagination.
It's been delivered, and it was described as very heavy from Richard, as well as being very nice, of course.
Right.
But there is obviously a trophy for the winner of the Patreon Black Box League, and a trophy for the winner of the Predictions League as well, which is currently obviously being won by Hotline.
I mean, it's a heavy trophy, but Sleeper and Manscape are playing for the postage, so it's all fine.
Exactly. See, we do invest back.
Exactly. It all goes back into the channel. Right. Predictions. Achingly familiar, these again, aren't they? Southampton, Man United. You've gone 2-1 United. I've gone 3-1.
These are very boring.
Very similar, aren't they? Yeah. Again, we don't look at these. We just put our scores in and then we only see them when we clip this for the show. Okay, we're going away with Man United, Southampton. Not too much to talk about there, I don't think.
Bruno Fernandes, though?
Yeah, Bruno to come good. Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll look at the captains in a minute. Brighton, Ipswich, you've both gone 3-0.
That would be a dream. With me being at the Amex, that would be an amazing result.
Palace, Leicester, we've both gone 2-0.
Come on, Mateta, get me something. Right down the bottom of the forwards list.
I'm likely to have Eze, more on that in a minute. But yes, Fulham, West Ham, both gone a draw. You've gone 2-2. I've gone 1-1. That might have something to do with the fact that Smith Rowe could be going for me. So
he's on my bench this week.
You fancy goals, do you?
I found this one probably the hardest one to predict. I don't really know. I haven't really seen a lot of great stuff from Fulham so far, and West Ham obviously were absolutely brilliant against Palace, and then awful. I mean, it is Man City, but really, really poor against them. So I just went with the logical draw.
Yeah, fair enough. And then Fulham, West Ham, we've mentioned already. Liverpool versus Forest, you've gone 3-1, I've gone 3-1.
3-1 as well, yeah.
Crazy how we go here. But yeah, I think we do score. But then Liverpool kill us off. This is different rather. Man City versus Brentford, I've gone a kind of, no bias whatsoever. I don't own Haaland, I've gone 2-0. You do own Haaland, you've gone 4-1.
Hat-trick of hat-tricks.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah. You see them really giving them a hiding in, do you?
Yeah, I think so. They're just on it at the moment. And I mean, look at Brentford when they play Liverpool. They basically rolled over.
I don't see it. I think Thomas Frank's sides don't do that. They've had some joy against City in the past as well, home and away. So I don't know. I don't see it being that. I think that City win, Haaland gets something, but I've gone 2-0. Villa Everton, we're both back in 3 goals for Villa. 1 for Everton for you. I'm going 3-0 though. You've gone 3-1. Not
just
too
to
much
wipe out the Conte clean sheet, because seems to always happen.
Because you don't have Conte and I do. It's funny, actually. I got accused of, Mark's predictions. He only predicts the scores because he's got players in his team. What a surprise that I predict scores according to my fantasy team. Of course I do. I wouldn't have the players if I didn't think they're going to. It's crazy, some of the things we get accused of.
Just rolled you up.
Well, obviously there is some bias.
Ages of you. I haven't seen any of those comments.
You're not gonna not own Haaland and then go, I think Man City are going to win 7-0. Of course you're not. You're not going to do that. Anyway. Villa versus Everton, we've done. Bournemouth versus Chelsea, close to being the Garden Centre game, but because it's an 8 o'clock kickoff, I don't think we can find a Garden Centre open at that time. But you've gone 2-1, I've gone 2-2.
I've gone for a Bournemouth win.
Yeah, I know. You fancied them to turn them around. Yeah. I can see it because, Bournemouth have started well.
Yeah, I just haven't been very impressed with Chelsea. Could even beat West Ham. Could even Palace at home. And I think other than that, like mad 15 minutes against Wolves, they haven't really been that great. I mean, they were all right against Man City in the first game, but couldn't really find a way through. I like Bournemouth. They're a good team.
Yeah, it's the first score we've had, first outcome.
I know, first one. Yeah, terrible.
You've gone a home win, I've gone a draw.
Next one's different.
This one's different though. Yeah, and this is interesting. And again, could be the bias because you're selling Saka, right? And I'm not. What a surprise that it affects our predictions. You've gone Spurs win, and you've talked about it tonight, and you really see this as an opportunity for them. 2-1 you're going for. Yeah,
it's close. You might be right. They might need 3 maybe to do it, but yeah, I just think I'm gonna back Sam and say, yeah, Sam's gonna inspire them to a narrow victory. They'll be delighted, wouldn't they, with a 2-1 against Arsenal at this stage of the season? Oh yeah, I mean they'll only. I reckon they'd wish that it comes at the end of the season and they can, snatch them from getting the title. But it's too early to kill Arsenal's title hopes off. But having said that, any defeat is going to really hurt when it's Man City you're chasing. Right? I think and hope Solanke will be back for this.
Well, nothing's been seen of him.
No, he was close though. They said for the last game against Newcastle.
I just have an inkling he's not going to turn up again. Right. I mean, my policy has always been with an injury, just sell him, because I've been on the end of countless managers saying, "Oh, he's on his way back," and we think he's back on it, and it just goes on for weeks, and you just never know how much honesty you're getting. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back.
You can get Mateta like me and get 2 points every week.
Yeah, you could.
It's a lot more fun.
I've gone 2-1 Arsenal. I do think Spurs score, and I'm probably going to hold Son because I do think this could go. I think Arsenal win, but it could be 3-2. There could be a lot of goals here, which with the Arsenal defence you would think no, but you're right. You're without Declan Rice, without Odegaard. What are we going to get? So it's an incredibly difficult game to predict. Yeah. You'd hold him, yeah. And then the final game, which I've identified as the Garden Centre game, it's Sunday 4:30. It's a prime time for Garden Centre, really. But we both predicted loads of goals. Strangely, you've gone 3-1 Newcastle away win. I've gone 2-2. I think I just don't see the defences standing up here.
Well, I'll be back in Brentwood watching this with my parents. Hopefully my mum's cooking a nice roast dinner.
Oh, I really want Trippier to play now then.
I don't think he will. This would be basically my nightmare result. So I've gone the opposite way to you of predicting what would be good for my team. Because if Newcastle win 3-1 and I've sold Isak, that is probably going to be maximum pain. And I think Isak gets something. I really need.
He is.
I know. I'm really not that confident that Saka and Isak is outscored by Salah and Pedro, especially if I think Pedro could be benched for 45. I think it's really, really close. And using 2 free transfers on it as well. I don't know.
We are tempting the FPL gods, and we know what they do when we do that.
I don't feel great, but I'm hoping that Wolves can find a bit of form at home, and Newcastle have looked a bit laboured so far. But Isak's started the season in good form for Sweden. Obviously scored the goal against Spurs as well.
Yeah, he's on fire over the break.
I'm a bit worried. You see his comments about FPL managers as well.
Yeah, lovely that, wasn't it? It was great. And I mean, he
literally said he was going to score 2 goals despite me.
He basically said, "I love it when people sell me and then I do well."
Yep.
I mean, again, it's watching that is horrible, isn't it? Because you can just imagine going, oh God, and he warned us. And there's just so many things that you can see being played back.
Why has that game got to be last in the game week? I could be having a really good game week, and then it gets to that, and then he just goes mad and it just ruins
horrible.
me.
Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Let's talk about captains. Isak features on this table because it's a good fixture away at Wolves. But we're looking at it's Haaland versus Salah, isn't it? There's no question. If you've got both, where are you going?
Haaland.
You're going Haaland. He's top of the XG on penalty, 1.05 over Salah, 1. You're going Haaland. Interesting. I mean, before we look at Rob T's data, which is always useful when we throw it in at this point, anyone else you want to pick out here? Would you be tempted anywhere else? Bruno, maybe?
Bruno, after watching Southampton defend last game week, he's the one, but I wouldn't trust Manchester United at all. Pedro, if we knew Pedro was going to start, he could be a great option, but I don't think we're going to get that. I mean, SA
how
could
many
be
times this season, and I guess we need to bring up the matrix here, are we going to be discussing any other player other than Salah and Haaland? I mean, I know it's 3 weeks and they've top scored and they've really delivered, so that will change, but you do start to wonder whether the bracket underneath, when we're looking at, the Saka, Son, Bruno, De Bruyne, Foden, that's the bracket underneath. Are they going to be able to make a step up? Because at the moment they haven't yet. And it's about what you talked about, Saka, earlier, the ceiling versus Salah and Haaland's not the same, is it? I do hope they do push up, but it's not happening yet, is it?
We're going to have those 2 weeks of Southampton and Leicester where Saka's going to be very, very popular. But other than that, I think it's going to be Haaland and Salah. But I mean, if you're paying 15 million for Haaland, you kind of need to captain him every week, with the odd exception of a really tough game when someone's got a good one. Because for like 5 and 6, okay, but you're going to, if you've got Haaland, you're going to captain him between 7 and 10, I imagine.
Yeah, there it is in the matrix. You look at that run, 7 and 10. It's Fulham at home, Wolves away, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away. I mean, I really worry about not having him during that period. I can cover it with Saka for game week 7. Game week 8, though, where do I go? Will I still have Son? I don't think so. So, I haven't got
you go Salah, don't you? Home to Chelsea, but not ideal.
So. Yeah, you do. I mean, Salah in a home fixture, of course. But then Salah goes to Arsenal when Haaland's at home to Southampton. So where do I go there? I'm not going to have Watkins or Palmer, am I? So, me saying I don't know when I'm going to wildcard, I think I'm going to be faced with having to, unless I've got some City cover. Then am I going to captain Foden over Haaland? Maybe, but
nine's a savage week. 9 is a savage week if you're going non-Haaland. That is because that's there's going to be triple captains out on Haaland again that week.
Yeah, and you can't go Salah at Arsenal and Saka at home to Liverpool, really, can you? I don't know. It could be a game of goals, and you probably have to, don't you? You have to back goals and hope that Salah or Saka return.
I mean, Watkins doesn't really deserve to be on this list, does he, at the moment?
No.
But then he could be more of a factor for us. But you're definitely not captaining Watkins at the moment, even with Everton at home. And we were talking about it again last episode, saying Watkins could be a captain option for us this week. No chance.
Let's look at Rob's data. Rob T, at Rob T FBL. He puts out excellent graphics like this based on SpreadX betting odds, and no question, City's 2.95 projected goals, 46% chance clean sheet versus Liverpool 2.8 projected goals. Those two right out in front with Brighton 2.40. Yeah, so those 3 teams are the ones expected to get the goals this week. No surprise, and like you said, he does favour Haaland over Salah here. Not only because the amount of goals projected, but also the monopoly that Haaland has on City goals versus Salah.
Yeah.
So yes, I think if you've got both, you go Haaland. If you haven't got Haaland, you've got a good bet in Salah this game week, but that's going to change as we get later in the season from game week 7 onwards. We've got a problem, so we've got to address that and see what we do. Captaincy, though, I think is pretty cut and dry. Let's look at our teams then to round up on. This is yours, Az. Talk us through it for the podcast.
This is mine. So Henderson in goal with a home game against Leicester. I'm hopeful of he can build his 4 points from last week. It's Trent, Porro and Robinson in defence. I'm happy with that. Obviously, Porro's got Arsenal, but I'm backing them to win. So then there's no way they're going to get a clean sheet, but he is still taking up ridiculous positions. It's Saka, Jota, Gordon and Rodgers, which was a disappointing midfield last week. Saka is going to go tonight, I think, for Salah. Saka's very, very close. Oh no, Saka's close to a price drop, but it doesn't actually affect me because he's already gone up 0.1, so I don't need to make a move tonight. But it is probably going to be Saka to Salah.
Saka's getting a price drop, is he really?
Yeah, he's gone up to 10.6, and now he's dropping. Because I think so many people are making that move to Salah. Yeah. And then Haaland captain Mateta, who's been really disappointing since I bought him in. Obviously now has Nketiah and Pedro, who came in very early in the international break. And Smith Rowe on the bench. So if Pedro does miss out completely, or if Haaland misses out completely, because there is some talk about one of his friends has sadly passed away.
Really?
They've said that he might be given compassionate leave for it, which would really, really rock the boat. But he's been training today. I don't think that's going to happen. But one to monitor.
Wow.
To make sure your bench is at least lined up correctly, just in case.
I saw that in the chat, and I thought, well, I better not highlight that comment because I've not heard that, and that is that's furious speculation that we don't really want to throw in at this stage. But right,
he has trained today though, so I think it's unlikely. I think he missed a bit of time to go and kind of not deal with it, but deal with it himself. But he seems back, but maybe he'll be given a bit of time. But it's unlikely.
Fair enough. What do you expect then? Green Arrow?
I'm a bit worried about quite a few players. Jota, Gordon, Rodgers, Mateta haven't really delivered for me yet this season. Obviously Pedro might be benched.
Porro concedes. Henderson probably concedes somehow.
I know. So
pretty much a disaster is what you're predicting.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, Mateta has got Leicester at home, so it's not bad. Pedro has got Ipswich. Rodgers has got Everton, so it could go completely the other way. And I will have Salah and Haaland. So I'm going to predict about to finish the week about where I am. 800k-ish.
Yeah, you'll take that one. Yeah,
that'd be right.
This is me. Raya, Lewis, Trent, and Konsa, Smith Rowe, Son, Salah, captain, Saka, Rodgers, Isak, and João Pedro. I am going to make a transfer, and that transfer will be Smith Rowe to Eze. I have the money to do that.
Yeah, that's nice.
And then the idea will be that I will probably roll next week and then take 2 transfers into game week 6 and go Son to Mbeumo, Isak to Havertz is what I'm potentially looking at. Although looking at the captaincy coming up, there might be grounds for keeping Son because he could give me a route for the captaincy if I don't go Haaland. So I don't know. I want Mbeumo though for that run, but I do have Wissa there. So I have some cover of Brentford for 6. This week, how will I do? Like every week, it will depend what Haaland does. So my fate is in his hands, basically, because I think Salah I think Salah will return. I think Forest will lose. I think they'll score 2 or 3 goals, as I've said in my predictions. I think I'll get something from Saka. I probably will get a clean sheet out of Lewis. Probably I could get a clean sheet from Trent. I do think we score. Konsa could keep a clean sheet as well. I think it's going to be an okay week. But yeah, if you don't have Haaland, it's down to that. If he blanks, you're going to get a green arrow. If he scores, you're going to get a grey or red. It's the way it's going at the moment. If you can get both, that's the way to go. It really depends on what my supporting cast does. If Son, Eze, Saka, Isak in particular. I mean, Isak could be a key player for me because if he's getting heavily sold, then if he returns, then he could be a difference maker. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, these are scenarios that I'm glad we've got. There's such variety in the way teams are going and players who could affect our game week. It's a wider pool, isn't it, than normal?
But those fringe players are so key because if you don't have a Palmer and he goes off, or you don't have a Saka, or you don't have a Haaland, and you can't have them all, obviously. You need your fringe players, your Rodgers, your Matetas, your Smith Rowes, whoever, to chip in with some points to try and make up that deficit a bit. And if you're on the wrong side of the premiums and your supporting cast aren't chipping in points, you could have an absolute, people can catch up 30, 40 points on you really quickly this year. There's going to be a lot of big swings for people this year, and you're not going to get it right every week, but you just need to hope that you've got players in who can make up the difference.
I mean, I'm trying not to look at other people's teams and say I'm basically going to logically do the right move, which I think is Smith Rowe to Eze.
I like that move.
And then I've got to hope that one of Son, Isak, or Saka come in for me, because if all 3 of them blank and Haaland scores, I'm getting red. So I've got to get something from Son, Isak and Saka. I think one of them will return.
Four though, aren't they? They're a good four.
Yeah, they're good players. So I think one of those three will return, and they're all going to be pretty significant differentials the way the market has gone, because Isak and Saka are leaving teams and Son isn't in many teams. So I think I'll be okay, but it's the way it's going every week. I'm like that, and I don't mind that. I want to rely on a broader range of players rather than just the heavy hitters, which was a lot of last season. It was like, well, if Palmer and Salah and Haaland come in, you're going to do well, and they were doing well every week. So it's better. It feels better, and I mean, I'm so hyped about this season, the way it's going so far. I'm not really concerned, how well I'm doing. I'm more concerned at the moment about the state of FPL and the way it is, and it's getting me excited again about playing it, which is a good thing.
Which is 4 players the same this week in our teams. And at Spells last year, for the first time ever, we had 11 players the same.
Yeah. And it felt horrible, didn't it?
You were like 150 points ahead of me. It wasn't ideal.
Yeah, and we're more or less neck and neck. So it's I like it. I like where we are. I like where the season's at. I like the decisions we're having to make. I like the dilemmas. And the fact that people are selling Isak and Saka and going, I don't feel happy about it. That's great. That's what that's the kind of dilemmas we want playing this game, right? We don't want decisions to be easy. We want to be punished at times and make us think twice. Yeah. That's what playing this game should be about. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to the weekend. That's where we go. Apart from, you've got 2 wildcard teams to have a look at. Do you want to show them now?
Oh,
yeah, we've gone over the 2 hours. I might as well stick them up. What's behind these then? This is wildcard 1. This is the Haaland only team.
I just thought there's obviously a lot of people on wildcards this week, so I thought we could at least touch on something. So I just had to go at putting together. Like I said, I wrote that article just with a couple of different ideas.
Oh, the one I totally ignored.
Yeah. Well, only when you found out it was me. That's fine. Yeah. But this is using Plan FPL. This was a wildcard I put together. That's with Verbruggen and Flecken in goal, with Trent, Lewis, and Gahey. Saliba and Greaves on the bench. So you've got Saliba that comes in obviously for the Great Fiction Game Week 6. It's actually Son in to target these 2, and then you'd look to switch him over to Saka. I prefer Son for the next 2 weeks, given that I think Spurs are going to win this game, and then Saka goes into City. And then Eze, Diaz, and Minte, and then Haaland captain. I think I would still go for Watkins if I was on a wild card this week, although that's looking with each day that passes, and he's not training.
He's going to start Everton, isn't he? Unless he is injured. Yeah.
I think I would go for him, but you could also move him to Isak and just take the guaranteed start against Wolves. I don't mind that either. And then Pedro, and then Flecken, Rogers, Saliba, and Greaves on the bench. I think this is a pretty strong team to wildcard into. There's no real weakness there, I don't think. And you've got the triple up on Brighton for the next 2 as well. Obviously,
the Arsenal defender on the bench as well skews the strength of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And what you've got then, I guess you've done this to show the difference between the teams with Salah and Haaland. So this is the Salah and Haaland team.
Yeah, and I don't hate this. So this is Raya in goal with Trent, Lewis, and Gahey. So same back 3, but Raya's in instead of the rotation, because it's a bit cheaper to do that, because you haven't got to pay 6 million for Saliba. Saka, Eze, Salah, Minte, and Rogers. And then Haaland and João Pedro up top. And then the bench, you've got to have 2 4 million defenders to have this. So Stevens and Greaves are both starting. I've managed to get Delap in there as like another option, as a kind of 5-5. You could put him down to a 4-5 and strengthen the defense somewhere else, give yourself a bit of a bench. I don't hate this. I mean, it's got Raya, it's got Trent, it's got Saka, it's got Salah and Haaland. The issue is that you've got Minte, Rogers, and Pedro all under 6 million that you have to play every week, and you can't really move away from them.
I look at this and go, where are my transfers going to be week to week? Unless I'm moving Eze out, I'm not going to be touching Trent or Lewis if Lewis stays in the team. Okay, I could move 4 or 5 defender out in and out, but that's a lot of fun, isn't it? So basically, my input into this team for a good period, unless there's injuries, will be which 5-5 am I going to move out this week?
Yeah, it is. Do I bring in Semenyo this week? Do I bring in
I don't know if I want that game. I mean, this might well be an optimal lineup, but is that a lineup I want to take on and manage? I know, okay, is it about rank? Is it about the fun and engagement? For me, there's still an element of fun and engagement, and I like the decisions we're making, and we talk about it just now with the Saka and Isak decisions. These are tough decisions. If they go wrong, it's big swings. Those are the things I like. I don't like going, shall I go Minte to Semenyo? That's no. Doing weeks of that is going to kill my enjoyment, really.
I think
not if I get loads of points, but I think it will.
I think you would look at around 7 or 8 to think about taking Salah out and redistributing your funds a little bit more. Also, the other problem with this is Lewis as well at 4-7. If he suddenly does get dropped, you're then looking at Stevens and Greaves coming in. So
sounds like a law firm, doesn't it? I'm going to take this to Stevens and Greaves.
So you could do Lewis to Dunk or to a Brentford defender or something to give you that certainty, or maybe you do Stevens to Van der Berg. It is a bomb site bench, absolutely. But
I love that
there's not really, like I said, unless you move the lap down to a 4-5 and then you get in 2-4-5 defenders. There's not really a lot of movement here.
Look who's in the chat. Trigger's in the chat.
That's not Trigger Lips, is it?
Trigger Talks FPL. Is it not? I think it could be. I think it could be.
Trigger Lips.
Yeah. So we're welcome.
We're getting on very well at the moment.
Well, I take it from the badge that's him as well, isn't it? With the Aussie reference. I don't know. Maybe it's not. It could be. One comment I starred earlier that I thought was fantastic from Greg Foss, just in case you're settled on that Saka transfer. Look at that. Saka scored 28 points against Spurs last season, the most against any opponent. There we go. Let's just throw that one in there just to make you feel a bit worried more about selling Saka.
Fake news from Greg.
Fake news from Greg. Well done, Greg. Love that propaganda. Keep that coming. Right, should we hit some of the super chats, because we might keep going into the night. We might be able to hit midnight if we keep going.
I'm so tired. I'm just delirious. So we might as well. Shall I wrap through these?
Yeah, stick a few on.
This is from Flanny Boy 1888. I'm wildcarding without Haaland. Team rated at 95% in FPL Planner with KDB in it and 0.3 in the blank. Question is, should I go for a cheaper City mid? And if so I can get to Haaland in week 7. Still,
hold on.
Brave not going with him now, but obviously wanting to think about how to bring him in a bit later. If you didn't wildcard Haaland now, would you get him in 7, or would you just try and ride it out? By the way, thank you for the very generous super chat, Flanny Boy. 999.
I just don't see the logic in not wildcarding him in now. Is it because you feel this team will be stronger without him for this period? And maybe you could create a team stronger without him for this period. I'd like to see what it is. I mean, obviously, it's 95% in AI, and who am I to question the AI? But I'm convinced the AI is just slippers answering instant messages. By the way, every time someone takes a screenshot or sends a I've got another one to go. Yeah, send that.
He's building it. He's the brains behind it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty boring.
There's no computer at work. It's just Andy in his slippers.
Hub got him.
I think we looked at the captaincy matrix, right? And we looked at that run, and we'll bring it up again now. If you haven't got Haaland from 7 to 10, where are you going with the captaincy? Yes, you've got Saka in 7, fine. Game week 8, you've got a problem. Game week 9, you've got a big problem. So I think that's what I would fear. I think you've got to, if you're not going to wildcard Haaland in now, yes, you've got to get him in May, certainly by 8. So if I go for a cheaper City mid, I guess it has to be KDB at the moment because Foden's not there. Some genius was talking about Grealish earlier. Maybe he's not.
Well, that's it. There isn't a cheaper City mid, is there? I mean, Rodri is like 6 million or 6.5, but
you are delirious. Yeah, you need.
Yeah, you're not. Well, my point is, you're not going to go there. So you're getting De Bruyne to cover Haaland essentially. I think you just ride that. If you think there's not going to be much in it between them, which I don't agree with, but if you're going without him now, I think you just accept that you're probably not going to have him.
Yeah, so the same logic applies. If you think that Haaland's not necessary now, why do you need him for 7? I guess that's
exactly.
right. But
exactly. Yeah.
I would argue you go Haaland now and then you wait for Foden and see what happens. And then if you need to move off Haaland to spread funds, you've got a Foden to go to. I would rather go to a Foden than the KDB myself.
I would not be wildcarding without Haaland now.
No, nor would I. No. So that's hopefully we've earned our £10 there. I feel like we haven't. So get in touch and we'll pay it back to you, Flanny Boy.
Yeah, don't do anything. Don't do any of the things that you're suggesting. Copy us instead. David James says, "I bloody love these pods. Up the borrow."
Yeah.
Middlesbrough fan.
Up the bar, I'm a Middlesbrough fan. Yeah, I don't mind Middlesbrough.
How are they getting on this season? They won the first couple of games?
I haven't looked actually. It's criminal actually because I don't look at the Championship now.
It's beneath us now, isn't it?
It's long gone. It's long gone. But yeah, I don't mind Borough. And is Carrick still there? I think he is, isn't he? I really should know.
He had a good season last year.
Yeah.
Borough are 7th.
Okay, that's all right. That's
fine.
The Championship is so grueling. I mean, I never want to go back there. It's such a hard league. Really is hard.
Don't miss it at all. This is from Jordan Naylord. Hi guys, bench one of Gabriel, Porro, or Lewis. Can't bench Lewis.
No, it's Gabriel or Porro. I would
from set pieces. Porro from open play.
I would bench Porro.
I'd bench Gabriel.
We say it because we're in pain because it's a very difficult decision.
There's not much in it, is there?
I think there's only one team keeping the clean sheet if there's going to be a clean sheet, and that's Arsenal. And so you're down to how likely is Porro to get an attack in return, and he's up against a good defence. So
corners,
Gabriel, but then Gabriel's on corners in a different way, isn't he?
From set pieces.
I'll go Gabriel myself over Porro, but difference of opinion. That's fair enough. Good.
Yeah. This is from Avi. Thank you for super chat. Do you start Smith Rowe at home to West Ham or Rodgers at home to Everton?
Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm benching Smith Rowe currently for Rodgers. So we're on that front.
I mean, Smith Rowe's not getting the full 90 yet, is he? Still not. So it's just expected minutes, and that's a factor. Plus, Rodgers could be on pens. I mean, we joke about it, but he could well be. And I think, Everton have conceded 3 goals in every game so far. So
Everton is, if you're 50-50, Everton is the team to target at the moment.
At the moment, yeah.
At the moment.
So,
yeah. And then finally, from Davies family first, have Trent, Robinson, Johnson, and Barco. Oh God, sorry, I'll get the blame for that.
There's going to be teams with Barco in right to game week 38. To gut punch you every week, basically.
he's not going to drop. So he's keeping. Would you do Hall to Pau Torres or Wood to Pedro, or Raya to Martinez and Hall to Lewis? Trying to remain in the clouds of overall rank 13K.
Oh, well done, Davis family first. Well done.
Hall to Pau Torres sounds all right. Don't hate that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get rid of Raya.
Wood to Pedro is interesting, given my theory about Wood not starting.
But then I've got a theory that Pedro is
starting. Certainly wouldn't get rid of Raya. Hall to Lewis. I would do Hall to Lewis.
You can't do Hall to Lewis.
Yes, you can.
No, because you have to
sell Raya. Save some money. Oh, I see. I wouldn't do that then. Right. Yeah. So it's the first one. Hall to Pau.
Hall to Pau. I think that's just you're not going to regret that, are you? Although Wood to Pedro, that's a good long-term move. It depends when you're wildcarding. If you're wildcarding in 6, I think Wood to Welbeck.
Wood to Welbeck. Oh, you put Welbeck in there.
If you're wildcarding in 6.
I'm going to say Hall to Pau, just so I can say to Pau, used to be one of my favourite bands.
That's what you get. That's what you pay for with these super chats. Great advice.
I'm basing it solely on the fact I used to fancy Carol Decker. Hall to Pau.
Mate of mine just texted me and said that he just met Carol Vorderman at the pub.
Oh, what a coincidence that I've just mentioned a Carol, and now another famous Carol has come up.
That's what reminded me. Yeah.
Where's he met her this time of night? Shouldn't I ask? A pub. Yeah. Okay. I guess Carol Vorderman's allowed to go to a pub. Did he say I'll have the crowd, please, Carol?
I think it might be a book signing. I think she might have a new book out, and she's doing a book signing at the pub.
She's signing books at a pub. Right. Okay. Celebrities these days. I don't know.
Yeah, she is. She just sent me a picture of her with a. It's a weird picture.
Is it?
Carol Vorderman and a like a book, but on like
if the chat are still there, or if they haven't left, who's your favourite Carol? Mine's Carol Decker every day. It's not Carol Vorderman. So who's your favourite Carol? Stick that in chat. Silent Night, is that your favourite Carol?
Yeah, that was good. I should have been quicker.
Yeah, too sharp for this time of night. Is it midnight yet? Not quite. We've got 14 minutes to go. We're not going to get to midnight. Thank you very much for the super chats, and thank you for everyone who joined us tonight. All that talk of Tapau has sent the audience down to 1,400, but we hit 1,600 at its peak, which is marvellous for a late night stream. Sorry we were late tonight, but if you joined at the start, you will know I went through trauma before the start of the stream. Never want to do that again.
Do you know what you were? I've seen you worse.
Have you? Right.
Please. You weren't great, but you weren't full meltdown, which is
that's all right. That's okay. Yeah. That's all right. Yeah, fine. Yeah. Anyway, enough of my stress. Another BlackBox is done, and I really enjoyed that. We did 2 hours 19 minutes. FPL is back and I'm pleased about it.
No, when's the next international break?
Oh no, it's 4 weeks. It does kill momentum, doesn't it? This first one's a real problem because it kills momentum. But even now, I'm looking, we've only got 4 weeks, then we've got another one.
They shouldn't have one this early.
No, got to change it. It's misery for FPL managers and content creators. But we're back and we're pleased about it. Thank you very much for your support. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and hit the like if you enjoyed this stuff. There you go.
Very good.
It's a good night for me.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, I've lost my credits. There they are. Good night again.